Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy, the Hip Hop Lobbyist, and in today's video, today's stream at least, we're going to check out what the press secretary, Ms. Karoline Levitt, has to say about the government shutdown. This is day 6 of the government shutdown. Now, I don't know where you've been, but collectively they are saying that Donald Trump, the President Trump, he is the deal maker. He is the one that's going to cut the deals left and right for you. But at the end of the day, we also have to realize that they need at least maybe 6, 8 Democrats to come over. And whatever they put in this big, beautiful bill, whatever they put in this package, this continuing resolution, has not swayed enough Democrats to say, hey, it's enough for us to come to the table to go vote on this for the American people. And the bigger part of the problem is people are starting to feel the impact of this. Over 32,000 federal employees in Florida alone, my state, have been impacted. They have been most likely furloughed because of this. That's crazy. 32,000 people who decided to go to work in my state. People who are losing contracts. I was watching a video earlier of a young man saying he uprooted his entire family from Florida to Virginia for a federal job. And that federal job all of a sudden is cut. There's no more. Now, there are some holes in his story, because I don't see how you move somewhere, you relocate your family and all the other good stuff without any kind of relocation funds. And then you didn't even say the company or the agency. All of a sudden you're contracted as a business, and all of a sudden you're an employee, and they're talking about bonuses. And I'm like, maybe none of my clients hired me internally and I had an issue, but I don't typically think it goes that way. But, you know, people just, they find a reason to say what they need to say any day. But either way, if it's your first time here, I want to appreciate you tapping into the stream. I am the Hip Hop Lobbyist, professional government affairs consultant and professional in the state of Florida, working on various projects from at-risk youth, making sure that our kids can at least have resources available to keep them out of the streets, and, you know, provide better resources for them. Also, seniors, making sure that they are technologically sound, so they won't get scammed online. There are a lot of people who get scammed online. Don't get it twisted. I think the young man who said he uprooted his family from Florida to Virginia, I think he was scammed. But then again, he could be scamming too, because you never know what people want to do to get a narrative out there, to get some support, and all of a sudden you're giving to a GoFundMe for a guy who's going to flip that $20,000 into a whole business plan. But I believe we're waiting on press secretary to tap in. But let me know where you're tapping in from today. If you're watching the stream live, I am in great state, the free state of Florida. And we have an impact from that. Many agencies in our state, IRS, Social Security offices, housing offices, they are closed or operating at minimal capacity, slowing down the supply chain of operations. Not the supply chain like coming in from the port, but the order of operation on how things get done, from customer service to administrative processes. And I do feel that a part of this could help shift a fact of saying, okay, cool, if a lot of these administrative jobs are the ones that are cut in a state like Florida, 32,000. Maybe it's also saying that, hey, we can replace these people with AI, because maybe we can afford more with less. But either way, I think I'll tap into the stream today. If you watched last night, when I downloaded some of the videos, I had audio issues, like with the protest. And it was only the protesters last night. It wasn't really the whole stream. So like the Jasmine Crockett piece was good. Other parts are good. If you were on the stream last night, you probably saw that my son came downstairs about 2:45. We are dealing with not a bad case of sleep regression, but since the time he was born, up until the past like 3 months, he slept damn near perfect, right? You know, newborns, you go through that every 2-3 hour eating cycle, poop cycle, diaper, whatever, all the other good stuff, right? Yeah, we see you. What's up, baby? We here. Yep. Tap in. We clock it over here, though, baby.
Clock it.
We clock it over here. So yeah, we see you. We see you. But to the main point, forgot where I was in that. Yeah, sleep regression. So we've been doing good for the past 3 years, almost 4 years, but these past 2-3 months have been like a stressor. And as you seen last night on the stream, about 2:30, 2:45, about to wrap up at 3 a.m. anyway, right? But then I'm watching him on the net. All of a sudden he comes down and came in, and, everybody on the chat, oh, you're being a good dad. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. But I wanted, I don't know, you can't really say it. I wanted to get like a peace of mind, like, hey, the family sleep. So I can like do what I want to do. But then, as I'm learning, being a parent, you never know when duty calls. So that's the major part of it as well. Thank y'all for tapping in. Still waiting on the White House press secretary to jump on in today. But let me check the chat. Let me see what people tapping in from. People who are. Oh, only two of y'all? Damn, I appreciate the two of y'all tapping in, man. You know what? Karoline don't really do numbers like Trump and Jasmine Crockett does. But I do appreciate the ones that are here. And 1 and 2 agree. How the church say when 1 and 2 come together? There we go. Now, I forget what BotRex is, but it joins my chat every time. I'm not sending bots to the chat, but I think it collects everything. Let me Google it. What is BotRex? Am I sending bots? Oh, chat mod. Okay. Yeah, I haven't even set that up together. But the other part of FEMA disaster recovery is also impacted by the shutdown. SNAP food benefits, WIC nutrition assistance for people that are on low income who need that. And I'm not on WIC. I'm not on SNAP. I still got to go get food, but the people who are actually need that to feed their kids, to get milk, WIC, women and children, making sure that you can get a lot of the supplies that can be cereal, anything else can be there. But let's yield to the press secretary.
Today. Alrighty. Good afternoon, everybody, and happy Monday. Let's get to it, and we'll begin with a few scheduling announcements today. President Trump will be hosting the Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney tomorrow for a working meeting here at the White House. On Thursday, the president will host his 8th cabinet meeting alongside his incredible team. Also on Thursday afternoon, President Trump will host the president of Finland, Alexander Stubb, for a working meeting here at the White House. The president also wanted me to relay his congratulations to Japan for electing their next prime minister, a highly respected person who also happens to be the first female to hold the position for our great ally. While President Trump continues to negotiate peace deals, meets with world leaders, and celebrates the 250th birthday of our United States Navy, as you saw he and the First Lady do just yesterday, Democrats, unfortunately, are continuing to play political games.
Here we go.
And we are now in day 6 of the Democrat federal government shutdown.
No snap.
Millions of American federal workers are under enormous financial stress as a result, wondering how they will pay their bills and take care of their families. If the Democrats do not vote to open the government tonight, federal workers will not receive their next full paycheck. Additionally, the special supplemental nutrition program for women, infants, and children will run out of federal money very soon. This program provides vouchers to buy infant formula, fresh fruits and vegetables, and other healthy foods for low-income families. It can be easily fully funded if Democrats simply vote tonight to reopen the government. Also, our incredible military service members who risk their lives to preserve and defend our country are now working without pay and will miss their next paychecks if this Democrat shutdown does not end tonight. The Republican-backed clean and nonpartisan funding bill fully funds this important food aid program, gets our troops paid, and reopens the government. So all of this begs the question, what is the Democrat ongoing shutdown truly about? The sad truth, we believe, is that the Democrats intentionally shut down the government and are inflicting this pain on American citizens to try and demand free health care for illegal aliens. Of course, this is an indefensible and truly radical policy to be in favor of, let alone to use as the primary reason to shut down the United States government. So the Democrats and their allies are desperately lying about their true motivations. We have to set the record straight with the facts so the American people understand what's really at play here. House Republicans passed a clean and nonpartisan funding bill to keep the government open and ensure our troops and other hardworking Americans are paid. Every single House Democrat except one voted against this clean and nonpartisan funding bill. Senate Republicans have subsequently tried to pass this same clean funding bill 4 separate times, and they will do so again tonight, to fully pass it to be sent to the president's desk for signature. And the president is ready to sign this bill to reopen the government as soon as it is sent to his desk.
Okay.
Yet every single Senate Democrat except 3 have voted against this clean and nonpartisan funding
Who
bill.
those 3?
The Democrats' current position is that the only way the American government can reopen is if illegal aliens can get free health care. Don't take my word for it, just look at what's inside of the Democrats' proposal to reopen the government. Their funding proposal would result in nearly $200 billion spent on health care for illegal aliens and other non-citizens over the next decade. To put this in perspective, $200 billion is enough money to fund the entire children's health insurance program, which provides health insurance to low-income children and women. Under the Democrats' proposal, the millions of illegal aliens who improperly were granted asylum and paroled under the Biden administration would once again be allowed to receive Medicaid benefits. It does not end there. The Democrat proposal would also require Medicaid to pay more for emergency care provided to illegal aliens than it does for American patients who are disabled, elderly, or children. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. The Democrat Party has unfortunately closed our government, costing Americans their jobs, threatening our military readiness, harming our
Was it really the
economy,
Democrats,
and
though?
causing chaos, all to help the illegals who broke into our country. Instead of holding illegal aliens accountable and removing them from our country, which is what this administration is trying to do every day, the Democrats want to give them the free benefits paid for by the American taxpayer. Democrats in 2025 are for illegal aliens first and Americans last. This is the reality we are unfortunately facing right now in Washington, D.C. President Trump and Republicans will not give in to these radical demands. The president and Republicans have a sacred responsibility to serve and protect the interests of their constituents, the American people. That's why we are backing a clean and nonpartisan funding bill with no strings attached to reopen the government. Democrats should do what they did 13 separate times under Joe Biden and vote for this exact same type of funding bill. Now the Senate will vote tonight for the 5th time to reopen the government on the 6th day of this shutdown. All we need are an additional 5 Democrat senators to end this madness and vote for the clean funding bill to reopen the government. If you are an American watching at home right now, call your Democrat senators and tell them to do the right thing and end this shutdown. With that, I will take your questions. Here in our new media seat today, we have Elizabeth Mitchell from the Daily Signal. Elizabeth, thanks for being here, and please kick us off.
Thank you for having me. I have 2 questions. First, President Trump told reporters yesterday that firings of federal employees are taking place right now. In which departments have people already been fired from their federal jobs due to the shutdown?
The president was referring to the hundreds of thousands of federal workers who have been furloughed as a result of this federal government shutdown, both here at the White House and across the entire federal government. At agencies across the board, there are federal workers who are staying home. Many of them work in the White House. You know them. Some of them sit just behind me at those desks. They are unable to show up to work right now because the Democrats chose to shut the government down. And so we're already, unfortunately, seeing the consequence of this. And then, of course, the Office of Management and Budget is continuing to work with agencies on who, unfortunately, is going to have to be laid off if this shutdown continues.
And Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said the FDA was required by federal law to approve the new abortion pill last week. Is the administration considering steps to undo this in light of requests from pro-life Congress members and organizations?
I think Secretary Kennedy and the Department of Health and Human Services, as I addressed in the briefing last week, were following the law, and we will continue to do so. As I said last week as well, it's not an endorsement of this drug by any means. It's just a law that they were following. Jennifer.
We heard you say that you want people to call their Democratic senators. Is the president calling Democratic senators himself? Can you say what he's doing today to resolve the shutdown?
Yeah, what's
Yep,
Big
I was
Trump
just
doing?
in the Oval Office. He was on the phone with Speaker Johnson. He's also spoken with the Senate Majority Leader, who are in touch with, of course, moderate Democrats and Democrats across the board, who we understand hopefully want to do the right thing by their constituents to reopen the government. So the president is being kept very well apprised of the ongoing shutdown on Capitol Hill. And of course, his position is very clear. There's nothing to negotiate, just reopen the government, and then we can talk about all the important issues facing our country.
So he hasn't called specific members of Congress?
Not to my
himself?
knowledge, no.
And then on the Affordable Care Act, is he willing to give more, to share more on what he'd like to negotiate on the Affordable Care Act later? Is he willing to say specifically what he would like and when?
But look, the president is definitely committed to fixing and improving our healthcare system. You saw it again last week when he had one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the world coming into the Oval Office and promising to lower drug prices by 200, 300, 100% in many cases for various types of drugs for American patients. That is a huge fix to a broken system that has been ripping off the American people for far too long. So the president's very committed to this. But right now, we need to reopen the federal government, and the president is remaining very firm in that position. Catherine.
If the vote fails in the Senate today to reopen the government, would that trigger layoffs?
Look, again, we hope that the vote will not fail because this administration wants to reopen the government. We don't want to see people laid off. But unfortunately, if this shutdown continues, layoffs are going to be an unfortunate consequence of that.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
When that would happen?
Well, look, we'll see how the vote goes tonight.
And can you confirm, is the White House floating a proposal to cap Obamacare subsidies by denying them to new enrollees?
I have not seen a proposal like that. Emily.
Thanks, Caroline. The president said yesterday he was considering a phase 2 approach to Venezuela. Is the president considering U.S. boots on the ground or any kind of support of overthrowing Maduro?
I won't get into any specific proposals that are being considered by the president and his national security team, but I think we've been pretty transparent and clear in the administration's view of the illegitimate Maduro regime, and the president has taken very unprecedented, tough action to end the illegal trafficking of illicit drugs into our country from Maduro's illegitimate regime.
Karoline.
Danny, go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline. The French government has collapsed again
Our nation's
for the
history.
fourth time in a year. And I was just wondering if there's any concern in the White House about the kind of ongoing political crisis there. Any thought about whether the President Trump's good friend, President Macron, should either call elections or even resign over that?
Well, I can tell you the White House and the National Security Council are very much aware of this situation, but I think it would be imprudent of me to weigh in on French internal politics from the podium, so I will reserve comment on that. Behind you, yes.
What is President Trump's expectations for talks today and I guess this week in Egypt? And is there a new timeline that the president is giving all sides to reach an agreement?
Yes, there are technical talks happening right now in Egypt amongst Special Envoy Witkoff and Jared
And that's
Kushner,
that for you, dreaming.
as well as their respective parties from all sides. What we saw take place on Friday, and I have not commented on that from the podium yet, is truly remarkable. You've seen all sides of this conflict agree that this war needs to end and agree to the 20-point framework that President Trump proposed. It's an incredible achievement, and the administration is working very hard to move the ball forward as quickly as we can. The president wants to see a ceasefire. He wants to see the hostages released, and the technical teams are discussing that as we speak to ensure that the environment is perfect to release those hostages. They're going over the lists of both the Israeli hostages and also the political prisoners who will be released, and those talks are underway, and the president is very much on the ball and is being apprised of this situation.
The president had given a Sunday evening deadline. Obviously, the negotiations have extended that, I imagine. What is that new deadline? Does the president have a time frame in mind to see this phase implemented?
Well, the Sunday evening deadline was to hear back from Hamas on the proposal one way or another. And of course, on Friday, Hamas put out a very clear statement in the president's view that they accept the president's framework, and that's why those technical talks are now underway. But again, we want to move very quickly on this, and the president wants to see the hostages released as soon as possible. Steve.
How long do you expect those technical talks to last, Caroline?
I don't want to draw a red line up here, Steve. Of course, it's very important, as I just mentioned, that we get this done quickly. That's how the president's team feels, so we can get some momentum, get the hostages out, and then move to the next part of this, which is really ensuring that we can create a lasting and durable peace in Gaza and ensure that Gaza is a place that no longer threatens the security of Israel or the United States.
What do you expect to be on the agenda for the president's meeting with the Prime Minister of Canada tomorrow?
I'm sure trade will be a topic of discussion tomorrow, and all of the other issues that are facing both Canada and the United States. I know the president looks forward to having that discussion with Carney in the Oval Office. Caitlin.
Thanks, Caroline. I have two questions. On the layoff of federal workers, potentially, the president said yesterday that Democrats will be to blame if federal workers lose their jobs. Historically, though, in past shutdowns, workers have been furloughed, but they have not been laid off en masse. So that the president's call to lay
Call them out.
As I've said repeatedly, Caitlin, this conversation about layoffs would not be happening right now if the Democrats did not vote to shut the government down. And as I also said last briefing as well, we are $37 trillion in debt, and the government is not receiving any cash. So someone has to look at the balance sheet and be good stewards of the American taxpayer dollar. And layoffs are an unfortunate consequence of that.
First term, for example.
Well, as I'm telling you now, this administration is focusing on checking the balance sheet and ensuring we're doing the right thing by the American taxpayer. And again, these conversations about layoffs would not be happening in the White House today if not for the Democrat shutdown. And they have a choice to change that. They have another opportunity tonight to do the right thing to reopen the government. Joey.
Judge
thanks,
over the
Caroline.
weekend. Sorry, my second question. A federal judge over the weekend that the president had appointed to the bench in his first term in office basically argued that he could not deploy other states' National Guards to Portland. Basically said that it was untethered, his argument, to what is actually happening on the ground. Which local officials in Portland have said that the National Guard is needed there?
With all due respect to that judge, I think her opinion is untethered in reality and in the law. The president is using his authority as commander-in-chief of U.S. Code 12406, which clearly states that the president has the right to call up the National Guard in cases where he deems it's appropriate.
Let's go.
And if you look at what has happened in Portland, Oregon,
Last
for
night.
more than 100 nights, I was talking to our law enforcement team about it this morning, for more than 100 days, night after night after night, the ICE facility has been really under siege by these anarchists outside. They have been disrespecting law enforcement. They've been inciting violence. We saw, again, a guillotine rolled out in front of this federal building. And so the president wants to ensure that our federal buildings and our assets are protected. And that's exactly what he's trying to do. And ultimately, in the case in Los Angeles, that judge ruled in the Ninth Circuit, that panel of judges ruled that those troops could remain and that the president was well within his authority to do so. So we are appealing that decision. As you know, we expect a hearing on it pretty quickly, and we're very confident in the president's legal authority to do this, and we're very confident we will win on the merits of the law.
But no local officials that you can point to that have said we need the National Guard? Because I spoke to the police chief of Portland last week. He said that the president's claims just don't match up with what's happening on the ground.
I would encourage you as a reporter to go on the ground and to take a look at it for yourself, because there's been many members of the press, not press in this room, but independent journalists, some of whom we'll be inviting to the White House very soon to share their stories, because they have been in the middle of these riots and they have witnessed the anarchy that is taking place night after night. It's on video.
Actually, last night we streamed some of this, right? And a guy with an American flag decided that he was going to walk through or go down the sidewalk through the middle of this Antifa protest where people were actually just yelling and screaming in their own little silo, right? And he kind of enticed the fact of them almost wanting to beat his ass, but they snatched and ripped his flag apart almost to the threads. Now, I've actually posted a video about it on my channel. Make sure you like and subscribe. I'm not pumping the channel too hard. Let's get back to the press secretary as we keep on moving through today's stream, man. I appreciate y'all tapping in.
You should play it on your show. You have a great opportunity on prime time on CNN to show your audience. Yeah, but you're probably talking to partisan Democrat officials who are opposed to everything this president does. You should also ask the people who live in Portland. We've actually heard from many members of the community who have said that this is complete civil disobedience. It's a mess. It's been loud. It's been troubling for neighbors in the community who are just trying to live peacefully. And these people are not there to peacefully protest. They are there to cause mayhem and havoc.
Yeah, Caroline.
Steven, go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. Two questions. First, do you have a reaction to reports that thousands of Cuban troops are deployed alongside Russia fighting in Ukraine? And on a very different matter, the president last week floated in an interview with our colleague Daniel from One America a rebate for tariffs of up to $2,000 per person. Is that plan contingent on the Supreme Court's upcoming ruling on the legality of the tariffs? And is the White House preparing for legislation to make that happen?
Sure. On the first point, I have not seen that report, Stephen, but I'll check in with our national security team after this and we'll get you an update. To your second point about the tariff rebates, I think it's an idea that the president has discussed and floated with his team of advisors, but no decision has been firmly made at this point in time. Why don't we go to the back? Owen.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
A few days ago, President Trump demanded Jay Jones of Virginia get out of the race for condoning political violence in a text message against a Republican politician a few years ago. He hasn't left the race. He hasn't dropped out. What's the president's reaction?
Well, I'm not at liberty to discuss political races from the podium. I think the president himself made his position very clear, and I think anyone could agree the messages that were sent by this Democrat nominee for Attorney General in Virginia are really shocking, alarming, and completely unacceptable. He was threatening to kill his opponent and his opponent's children, and that type of rhetoric has zero place in our country.
That's crazy.
And the president was absolutely right to condemn that.
Where is this happening after the Charlie Kirk? I thought we was past that. America.
Question and scrutinize the president's comments about using potentially the military, American cities as training grounds for the military. And when you look at Portland, Chicago, local and state officials say that their local law enforcement is able to handle the situations, these protests on the ground. The president says that Portland is burning, using that as justification for the National Guard in Portland. But when you look here in Washington, D.C., the president just last week said it is now a completely safe city, and there are still National Guard members on the streets that are not involved in ICE activities. Can you provide the justification for the White House here in Washington, D.C., why the National Guard members continue to be out on the streets?
Because Washington, D.C. has invited the National Guard here. Why? Because the mayor is doing the right thing, unlike mayors in other cities like Portland, as Caitlin and others have pointed out, who refuse to see that there are positive results from when local law enforcement works with federal law enforcement to do the right thing on behalf of their citizens. And Washington, D.C. is no doubt a safer city right now today than it was a few months ago when President Trump started this initiative to make D.C. safe again. And the National Guard is still here because the president and the mayor agree that it's a good thing for the city. Just like you're seeing in Memphis, for instance. We'll have National Guard deployed to Memphis. We have federal agents who are on the ground working with state and local law enforcement. The state police in Tennessee are part of this effort. The local metropolitan police in Memphis are part of this effort. State and local law enforcement and federal law enforcement should be working together. And it's a shame that we see in some cities across the country that their mayors are just simply refusing to cooperate because they don't like Donald Trump. And that's what this boils down to. And I don't think any American would disagree that Chicago needs more law enforcement reinforcements, that they need more resources. Look at this headline from over the weekend. At least 30 people shot during the weekend in Democrat-run Chicago. 5 of them were killed in one weekend. This is completely unacceptable, and the president wants to make American cities safer, and he's willing to work with anyone to do it.
If the courts allow you to ultimately send in the National Guard into Chicago and Portland, do Democrats not have reason to be concerned that there are long-term plans by this administration to keep U.S. military or the National Guard in American cities, like what we are seeing here in Washington?
Why should they be concerned about the federal government offering help to make their cities a safer place? They should be concerned about this. They should be concerned about the fact that people in their cities right now are being gunned down every single night. And the president, all he's trying to do is fix it. And there has been a complete smear campaign by the Democrats and the media, quite frankly. I was reading Political Playbook this morning, one of the most inside the Beltway newsletters you can find. And you guys are framing this like the president wants to take over the American cities with the military. The president wants to help these local leaders who have been completely ineffective in securing their own cities. And we have already seen there's a positive formula for that. Look at Washington, D.C. The murder rate has declined significantly. Our streets are safer. People who live here feel safer. All of you in this room, I know you do, you just won't admit it. And it's a proven system that works, and the president wants to make America's cities safe again. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Michael.
Thank you, Karoline. 2 questions, if I may.
Because the mayor wants them. Michael.
These talks in Egypt, if Hamas does agree to relinquish power and give it up, cede power to this transitional technocratic government, if that does happen, would the Trump administration then recognize a Palestinian state?
Look, I don't want to get ahead of the technical talks right now, Michael. They're extremely sensitive. They're taking place again as we speak, and there's a lot of there's many things to discuss. Of course, this is hopefully we expect and we hope going to be one of the greatest peace deals this world has ever seen, and the Trump administration is working diligently and working very hard to get there. And as I said, Friday, all terms agreed. We have the Arab countries who are working with us. Of course, Israel has been incredible in cooperating with the president's plan and agreeing to it, and we're very hopeful, and we expect that to continue.
You tweeted about this over the weekend.
Thank you. I was going to you in the blue shirt and tie.
Oh, thank you,
Yes,
Caroline.
you're
John
welcome.
Michael, the Daily Mail. Today, the Supreme Court declined to hear Ghislaine Maxwell's appeal. Will Trump rule out granting her clemency? Is that something the White House is considering?
It's not something I've heard discussed, and we don't comment on clemency requests that may or may not have been made, but I'm certainly not tracking that one at this point in time.
Caroline.
Jordan, go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. So we're talking about these radical groups in Portland and Chicago. I know the president has spoken about potentially going after George Soros with RICO charges and for funding all of this violence. Has there been any update on that? And also, is the administration looking into the other nonprofits, maybe taking away their 501c3 status for funding this violence? And one more question.
Sure. The financial backing of these groups, particularly Antifa, is certainly something the administration is looking into aggressively. And the federal government has never really been mobilized or tasked with doing that. So we're kind of kickstarting that into gear. The FBI is working on it alongside the White House's Homeland Security Task Force. We have our intelligence community looking into this as well. And even the Secretary of Treasury is involved with these matters since they are financial in nature. And we will continue to get to the bottom of who is funding these organizations in this organized anarchy against our country and our government. It's a question the American people have been begging the answer for many years, and we're committed to uncovering it. And when we do, I'm sure you'll be one of.
What if it's the same people that funded Charlottesville? Maybe the same people that funded Dylan Roof, or the people that funded the young white boy in Missouri who crossed state lines with his gun all of a sudden. What if it's the same people funding all of this shit? And we're just fighting the bullshit fight just to run our blood pressure up. What if? Think about it.
One of the first people to know.
Separately,
Jonathan.
Caroline.
Thank you. So Gaza, under the president's plan, is going to be governed by a transitional governance of a technocratic, apolitical Palestinian committee made up of qualified Palestinians and international experts. Now, given how radicalized the Palestinian population is in Gaza and in the West Bank, can you offer some insight or guidance into who are some of these Palestinians that are going to be considered for leadership roles in Gaza, and where you're going to be finding them, and do you have any names?
We're not quite there yet, Jonathan. The president believes peace is possible in Gaza, and that's why he presented this detailed and comprehensive plan. The first step of that is securing a ceasefire and releasing the hostages, and then those conversations about ensuring a durable and lasting peace can continue. But what do you need to have peace in a region like Gaza that's been war-torn for far too long? You need security guarantees, and you need good governance. And so those will be two of the priorities that this administration is focused on.
If I may, the president has said he wants the government to reopen this week in a deal. What's going to happen by the end of the week if there's no deal? What's the White House?
Let's go, let's talk.
With no deal with what?
To reopen the government.
Look, as I said, unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of pain inflicted. There already is on the American public, on our troops who are not being paid, again, on women and young children who depend on critical food assistance. We hate to see this, and in fact, the Office of Management and Budget is trying to do everything they can to find funds to get out the door for these vulnerable populations in our country. Again, we shouldn't be having to do that. The Democrats have a chance to change course tonight. I believe the vote's taking place at 6:30, and we urge Democrat senators to vote to reopen the government and to do the right thing. Thanks, guys.
Oh, that's it. That's a great walk-off, and tonight we will be here for that follow-up. And that, as you've seen, she's not really with the shit, at least replying to anything more than what the talking points are, right? And there are a couple of things that are happening, because even though Democrats have to vote tonight, hopefully some of them be on the Republican side of this. Maybe some of them will come over. But I know one of them that's not. And he's not in Congress. But it's the mayor of Chicago. The mayor of Chicago today, about 3 hours ago, had a press conference. Basically highlight the fact of they are creating, check this out, ice-free zones in the city of Chicago. It's about to be a cold day in Chirac, baby. Because it's kind of like the gun-free zones. You create gun-free zones. The Republicans say you can't have gun-free zones because people are going to take guns to gun-free zones and commit crimes. Cool. How about this? What the hell do you think the ice-free zone going to be? So you basically laid out, as I'm saying before we get to the press conference, you basically laid out exactly where you want ICE to go. Am I tripping? Let me know in the chat. Am I tripping, chat? Because if you make an ice-free, like, what are we talking about? I'm not saying the city of Chicago shouldn't have their rights. I'm not saying the state of Illinois and the citizens shouldn't have their rights to do what they want to do in their city. But what I am saying is, are you doing this for show? Or are you doing this for actually making impact? And I'm not talking about just the families, because the families that were zip tied wholeheartedly, I fully disagree with that shit, right? Especially the children, especially the elderly, especially people who were innocent in that building, who had no warrants, who had nothing else. And you hit this building, you could have done all this AI. You could have scanned this whole building, understood exactly where the fuck you needed to go, right? Respectfully. But impacting 100 other families to get 37 people is not ideal for me, especially when they're elderly, they're children, and they're zip tied in the city. So I'm going to hear what the mayor has to say. But that's just a good transition. I try to get in there. But I do appreciate everybody tapping in. I don't have any mods on the channel today, right? My boy TS isn't here. DD's not here. Feezy the Great's not here. So the chat is chatting. I'm trying to make sure the audio is straight, because sometimes, as you know, let me know in the chat if the audio drops. Sometimes I think it's a Mac and OBS issue. If you stream too long, the audio drops, and I just have to reset and come back, right? But either way, let's get into the mayor of Chicago. This crowd here is behind about this.
We are here today to talk about the events that have transpired over the past week.
Let's go.
The past week revealed the true face of the administration's immigration enforcement in our city, and the entire world was able to witness that. On Tuesday, federal immigration agents raided an apartment building in the South Shore community in the middle of the night. This building was managed by a slumlord that people have all been clear about.
Okay.
The city actually sued the owner in February over 15 building code violations.
Crazy.
The residents were dealing with deplorable conditions already, and this was before ICE trampled on them. But when they came in the middle of the night, they terrorized the families that were living there. There were children who were without clothing. They were zip tied,
Crazy.
taken outside
Crazy.
at 3 o'clock in the morning. A senior resident, an American citizen with no warrants, was taken outside and handcuffed for 3 hours.
That's absolutely wild.
Doors were blown off their hinges. Walls were broken through. Immigration agents coming from Black Hawk helicopters to set up snipers on nearby buildings. This is America. One resident described the situation plainly, and I quote, "They had immigrants in one van and black people in another van." This raid wasn't about public safety. It was about and it's certainly not about immigration. This was about a show of authoritarianism, a forceful display of tyranny. They sent a clear message to all Chicagoans. They said, "We do not respect your rights. We can do anything we want, and we will film it and put it on social media." The very next day, ICE agents chased people outside of a homeless shelter on the south side, then caused a car accident on the west side. Immigration agents put a young black man in a chokehold on the side of the street in East Garfield Park. Witnesses, one of which you will hear from this morning, bravely filmed the interaction, eventually leading to this person's release. On Friday, agents dispersed tear gas in the middle of a busy city street. Chicagoans were hit with chemical agents while walking their children home from school. A couple ran from tear gas with a 2-year-old child in their care. Agents went into the Humble Park Health Center and detained a sitting elected official, Alder Jessie Fuentes of the 26th Ward, because she simply requested to see a warrant. On Saturday, they escalated even further by shooting a U.S. citizen. They claimed it was defensive fire. But frankly, we cannot trust anything that comes out of the administration. It was only a few short weeks ago that they claimed officers were severely injured in the killing of Mr. Villegas Gonzalez in Franklin Park. A Sun-Times investigation found that the agent said on a body camera footage that it was, in fact, nothing major.
That's crazy.
We have a rogue, reckless group of heavily armed mass individuals roaming throughout our city that are not accountable to the people of Chicago. Their actions put all Chicagoans at risk. When protesters confronted federal immigration agents in Brighton Park on Saturday, they were met with pepper balls and more repression. CPD responded to attempt to de-escalate the situation, and ICE tear gassed our police officers.
Have Pat go with the
Let me be clear. Tear gassing the women and men who serve as Chicago Police Department officers is not how we make our city safer. I'm calling for a full investigation into this incident and into all of the brutality that we have seen over the past week. They are taking police resources that should be in our neighborhoods, serving Chicagoans, and diverting them to deal with the chaos that they are causing. We need ICE out of our city so that we can continue to focus on the strategies that have been working to drive violent crime down. These actions tell us a simple truth. If we allow this administration to take away due process for anyone, we will allow them to take away due process for everyone. They told us that this was about the worst of the worst. In reality, they are going after anyone who objects to families being ripped apart and community members being disappeared. ICE lies and people die. We cannot allow this to continue. We must take action more drastic than what we have taken before, because what we are seeing is a more radical attempt to undermine our democracy. And today we are signing an executive order aimed at reining in this out-of-control administration. The order establishes ICE-free zones. That means that city property and unwilling private businesses will no longer serve as staging grounds for these raids. Our school parking lots are not for ICE to load their weapons. They are for Chicagoans who drop their kids off to learn. Our libraries are not for ICE to prepare for a raid. They're for Chicagoans to read and relax. Our parks are not for ICE to set up checkpoints. They are for Chicagoans to play and enjoy. Private establishments can partner with us to make it clear that private property is private property, and ICE cannot enter establishments without a valid warrant.
There they go.
Private entities may voluntarily choose to display signage to designate their property as part of a citywide network of community spaces that stand together in affirming the safety, dignity, and belonging of all of our residents. By extending this protection beyond city-owned land, the order builds a broad civic shield that limits the reach of harmful enforcement practices. It strengthens neighborhood solidarity, and it reaffirms Chicago's role as a welcoming city. The fact is, we cannot allow them to rampage throughout our city with no checks or balances. Nobody is above the law. If we break the law, you should be held accountable. If Congress will not check this administration, then Chicago will.
Oh, damn. Shutdown? Chirac? Against Trump? Oh, shit.
I know there are many Chicagoans who are disturbed by the images and the videos that they are seeing on the news and social media. There are many who are scared and shocked by what they are seeing. The truth is that we are at a tipping point. This administration is trying to divide us and pit people, groups against one another. They want to divide and conquer. And as I said, in the South Shore, and this has been said very clearly, black people in one van and immigrants in another. In the face of this unprecedented threat, this moment calls for unity. Black, brown, white, Asian, young, old, north side, west side, south side, we must all pull aside our differences and defend one another, because if we allow this to continue to be unchecked, by the time we realize what's happening, it'll be too late. And this executive order is a step towards accountability, and it's called the basic rule of law. In the coming days and weeks, we may be pushed, if not forced, to take even more dramatic action if this administration continues to escalate and provoke our people.
That's crazy.
In closing, last night I spoke with the governor.
That's crazy.
And he informed me that the Trump administration is deploying Texas National Guard to our city. We will speak to our response later today. We'll do that with the governor as well as the attorney general. For now, let me just say that we are unequivocally going to continue to reject the military occupation of our city. The Trump administration must end the war on Chicago.
I'm going to stop there for a second, and I think the war in Chicago is happening regardless, right? And I'm just going to show Chicago Sun-Times. Let me make sure my people on vertical can see it. Hold on one second, y'all. Okay, Chicago Sun-Times, right? We're going to look at crime. Look at crime by itself, and this is without the National Guard, right? Man shot in the loop. Boy walks to firehouse after being shot in Gage Park drive-by. Man fatally shot in Brighton Park 6 hours ago. Driver dies after large object crashes through windshield on... All right, that's different. Woman shot by Border Patrol is charged. Cool, we got that. That's just there. Homicides in Chicago, a list of every victim, right? This is Chicago. I'm not saying, Republican or Democrat, that it's okay, but Chicago had a problem before the National Guard came in. That's what the issue is. So now they're saying, okay, if we deploy some of the National Guard, all of a sudden some of this has to be curtailed, right? Because the YNs ain't gonna be out here in the streets like that when you have all this out here. But guess what? They're gonna do a couple more. West Garfield shooting leads 1 dead, 1 wounded. 1 killed, 1 wounded. North Lawndale shooting. Man fatally shot in Little Village. Man beaten to death in road rage incident. 2 fatally shot in Auburn Grisham apartment. Defense attorneys of grad student killing Paul's fight against facial recognition. What? Oh, that's different. 2 fatally shot in apparent murder-suicide in Inglewood. All right, the PPP, okay, that's different. Federal judge release, like, so regardless of it, between today, the 6th, and October 2nd, those are just some of the listed crimes. I'm not saying that Chicago is the best city. I'm not saying it's the worst city. I'm saying they already had issues. If you have a young boy who's getting shot by the firehouse after drive-by shootings and all the other shit, it's like, damn, okay, where is safe? And if you can't have a safe city by the narrative, because the headlines are saying one thing, but the mayor's saying something different, right? The mayor's basically saying like, hey, yeah, it's not that bad. We don't need y'all. But these headlines say something totally different. These headlines say, hey, yes, why is this happening? Again, why? Let me read one of these. Man shot in the loop. 1:15 in the morning, 36-year-old man was on the sidewalk, first block of East Lake Street, when he was shot twice in the left thigh. Why? In fair condition. Look at this next one. Boy walks the firehouse after being shot. A boy at 16 almost got hit in the paywall. Shot in the fingers walking on the 2300 block of the West 50th Street when a black SUV drove by and someone inside opened fire. I'm not saying Trump is right. I'm not saying Trump is wrong. What I'm saying is Chicago has a problem. And it's not the only city with a problem. Memphis has a problem. Atlanta has a problem. Miami has a problem. Riviera Beach has a problem. Inglewood has a problem. Austin, Texas could have a problem. Houston could have a problem. There are problems in each one of these cities. But we don't have enough National Guard men to deploy in every city where major crimes are happening. But at the same time, I think it's tough for this mayor to look at what's happening on a day-to-day basis in just one newspaper, Chicago Sun-Times. I don't know if they politicized that. They had a whole crime section. You know, maybe that's the hot button issue. But it's hard to justify not deploying the National Guard. And this is what they see. On top of immigration, now you're creating ice-free zones. Not ice cream-free zones. Ice-free zones. So guess what ICE going to do? Show up.
The Trump administration must end this war against Americans.
Hold on, cool. Just to the question. My point is, Chicago already had an issue, right? So I'm not saying that this mayor could fix it because this issue was happening in Chicago beforehand, right? There are underlying issues to crime, whether it's wages, whether it's education, whether it's economic development, whether it's careers, jobs, daddy's in the house, mother's not there, drugs, whatever, right? There's so many underlying issues in Chicago that you can't just say, oh yeah, it's a National Guard, oh yeah, it's immigration, right? There are underlying issues that can fix the root of the problem, but for years we haven't been able to do it. And Chicago's been the mecca of crime since in my lifetime, at least, right? And that's what it is. So my point is, it's been bad. There are underlying issues, but not one mayor, not one governor, not one president can come in and sweep in and fix it. But at the same time, you can't justify it not happening when the bullshit's happening a lot more here than anywhere else. You know, it's like, what else are you gonna do to fix it? And there's no solution to say, hey, we're gonna fund the schools. We're gonna like put something else out there, but you know, it's one of those things. But the mayor, he don't want to fix it. He just has a race to run. Let's get back to
Trump
it.
administration must end its attempt to dismantle our democracy. Right as we are making historic progress in reducing violence, the Trump administration is seeking to destabilize our city and provoke chaos.
Hey, cool, I believe you.
We
I
said
believe you,
that
cool.
they would use ICE as a pretext to send in the National Guard. And now they are doing just that. I've also said for the last couple of years that the extreme right in this country refused to accept the results of the Civil War. They have repeatedly called for a rematch. But in the coming weeks, we will use this opportunity to build greater resistance. Chicagoans are clear. Militarizing our troops in our city as justification to further escalate a war in Chicago will not be tolerated.
I'm fucked up in the head, Reese.
Past teaches us that just because we are on the right side of history, that doesn't mean that we will succeed. It's going to take courage and determination, bravery, unity. But one thing that I know for sure in this great nation, this moment that we are in, Chicago was built for this moment. Immigrants from around the world, descendants of slaves, have come to this city to make it the global capital of the world. And now we stand in a moment that is testing our very humanity, and the city of Chicago will stand the test of time. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you see that smile? It's all about the smile and the reaction from
to the
press.
podium, Pastor Chris Harris.
Say good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Pastor Chris Harris, and I want to begin by saying thank you to our mayor, Brandon Johnson, and to the many city leaders and constituents who are present here today. I serve as the senior pastor of two churches on the south side of Chicago, Bright Star Church Chicago and St. James Church Chicago. I'm also the founder and CEO of two social services agencies, Bright Star Community Outreach and Bright Star Community Development Corporation.
What are we talking
where
about?
we manage a homeless shelter that supports more than 260 residents, housing both men and women. I'm joined here today together with our executive directors of both organizations, Lucretia Kindred and Carl West. Together, our agencies employ more than 140 Chicagoans. And every day, we work to uplift, to serve, and protect the most vulnerable among us. For those who need emotional support, please call our Bright Star Trauma Helpline at 833-TURN-123. If there was ever a time that we needed support, now is that time. Just a few days ago at our Bright Star homeless shelter in Bronzeville, the Black Metropolis, ICE agents raided our facility. Without warning, they came in.
Okay.
They handcuffed, detained, and took 4 residents. Let me be clear. They were not criminals. They were human beings trying to survive, trying to heal, and trying to find home, shelter. Our shelter is not harboring criminals. We're housing the unhoused. We're offering dignity to those who society has discarded. And yet, while our city is showing compassion, there are those who are cheering this chaos. Some in power claim Chicago is too violent, and they say that is the reason that ICE and soldiers are being deployed here. But let me remind you of something crucial. Neither the governor of Illinois nor the mayor of Chicago ever requested migrants to be sent here. If you want to hold people accountable, don't just hold those accountable who are powerless. Hold those accountable who are powerful. Arrest those political officials who heinously use government money to charter planes and buses to send migrants and immigrants to sanctuary cities like ours. Let's call their names. Governor Greg Abbott of Texas sent bus after bus, even planes, to Chicago. Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida flew families to Martha's Vineyard for political theater. Governor Doug Ducey of Arizona sent migrants across the nation to make headlines. If it's illegal to cross a border seeking safety, then it ought to be illegal to use human beings as political pawns.
Hey, these are facts. These are facts,
whether
people.
you support our mayor or not, whether you support our governor or not, let us acknowledge one major fact. Violence trends rose before migrants were illegally transported into Chicago. And the hard data shows that even with thousands and thousands of so-called illegal and violent migrants present, overall, violence in our city is lower now than it has been in decades, and we need to celebrate that progress. Now, this is not an excuse to grow complacent. The work is far from finished, but it is a fact that we must face and acknowledge honestly. So let us do 2 things at once. First, appreciate those local leaders and frontline teams whose strategies are actually reducing harm. Strategies that deserve more resources and investment so they can scale and replicate. Second, let's demand accountability where it is due, both for officials who created this chaos, relocation policy, and for agencies that overstep their authority in our neighborhoods. This is not an endorsement of any political candidate. This is a nod of appreciation to leadership that is standing up in the face of adversity, and a plea not to be distracted from the work that actually keeps our communities much safer. Chicago is not the problem. Chicago became the solution. When others turned their backs, we opened our doors. When others built walls, we built tables. We are not a city of cruelty. You ought to clap on this. We are a city of compassion.
Hey, my boy Oscar Brandon out here is preaching up there in Chicago. Like, listen, O2, I didn't know you had a whole church up there in Chicago, Illinois, my boy. Southside, and I'm sorry that the people came through and raided your parishioners. Now, you used to be a senator in the great state of Florida. Now my dog is a whole pastor up there in the great state of Illinois. My dog, O2, thank you for tapping in. Like, let's switch over to the next one, because the pastor's getting kind of boring, to be honest with you, because I don't see the rest of the part of him speaking. But let me get back to the mayor. I'm going to skip forward here as we see, because the mayor has to sign this executive order. Let's get to it here. Feel me? There's no sound coming out of them, so it's not me. Waiting on them. Formalities here. Appreciate y'all tapping in for the stream today, too. I don't see, again, I don't see the issue of them trying to protect their city, but I do have an issue with them creating ICE-free zones. Because politically, I've heard the argument when they have gun-free zones. It's going to be the same thing, you know?
Thank you.
Ready?
Testing. Okay, there we go. All right, we'll try to get to everyone. We'll do one question just to get through everyone. Randy, you want to start?
Good morning, Mayor.
Good morning.
Are you concerned at all about like legal challenges to this? I'm not quite sure what the precedent for allowing or not allowing federal officers on city property is.
Yeah, we're establishing that today. Look, we're living in unprecedented times, and it's going to take bold, clear action to push back against tyranny. What you see is a unified front of black, brown, white, Asian, young, old, faith community, community-based organizations, elected leaders from across the city that were clear that we do not want or need the militarized occupation of our city. And I'm going to use every single tool that's available to me to ensure that we maximize protection to the best of our ability.
Good morning, Mayor.
Good morning.
Can you confirm the reports that Chicago police were ordered to stand down when ICE agents were surrounded and rammed by cars? And do you want Chicago police not to help ICE agents?
Our police officers respond to every single emergency in this city. The brave women and men who sign up to serve and protect this city are committed to keeping us safe. And what we have made very clear is through our welcoming city ordinance, when it comes to civil immigration enforcement, absent a warrant, our police department will not dub as federal ICE agents. In fact, we believe it's antithetical to driving violence down in the city of Chicago. When people call 911, we do not ask what their immigration status is, right? And so our police department will respond to every incident in which their services are needed to keep people safe, protecting the fundamental right to be able to protest, ensuring the maximum safety of our residents. That is the top priority of our administration.
Can you confirm, though, were Chicago police told to stand down?
What I can confirm is that our police department responds to every single 911 call. When 911 is called and there's an emergency, our police department shows up, as they've always done.
Hi, Mayor.
Hi.
You just said we may be pushed, if not forced, to take even more dramatic action if this administration continues to escalate. What exactly does that mean from a city perspective?
Everything.
Meaning
everything. Whatever is necessary to ensure that we're protecting people. Look, I've already signed, this is the third executive order, the most sweeping executive orders from any executive office pushing back against this administration. We are looking at every single way in which we can protect people. And as the coming days come forward, there are many ideas that have already been placed in our collective circle. And I'm giving serious considerations around another potential executive order later this week.
Damn, okay. Big man, strong man. Yeah.
Hi,
Hi.
good morning.
Good morning.
So I'm looking at this sign here. What will happen if federal agents show up and say, not too bad? I mean, are Chicago police going to enforce this sign?
So if they are in violation, that's why we have our Department of Law. We are using every single tool that's available to us, and that includes the legal and the justice system. What we have seen, that everything that this president has promulgated, whether it's his illegal taxes that have been deemed illegal, or whether it's the fact that we already seen a judge that he appointed said that he overreached when he tried to federalize troops to send them to Mayor Wilson in Portland. And so we will use the reason why we have this in place, so that if the federal government does violate, we do now have a precedent that we can establish and hold them accountable.
Mariah.
Hi, Mayor.
Hi.
Obviously, Chicago police are responsible for enforcing laws in the city. Are they going to be responsible for enforcing these ICE-free zones?
As I said before, it's not just policing. It also includes our Department of Law. If someone is in violation of the law, we'll take them to court.
But will it also include police? Like for
Everyone
the private
is responsible. For the private businesses, I'm encouraging many of them to volunteer, to be a part of this collective action. Here's what's most important here. We know that this president is not interested in adhering to the law. So we're going to give him something to hold him accountable. And if he violates the law in the city of Chicago, we will do just that, hold him accountable.
Hi, Mayor.
Hi.
I know you're going to talk
Y'all
about
heard
the
that?
Texas Guard, Illinois Guard. Can you give us a little
Y'all
bit
heard that?
what your next steps could be to fight that?
Well, look, our corporate counsel has been in constant communication with our Attorney General
Let's go.
for several months now.
Let's go.
And I just wanted to offer this up. A couple of years ago, I said very candidly that the right wing in this country wants a rematch of the Civil War. I want that to sit in right now, because the President of the United States of America has declared war on the people of Chicago and people across America.
That's right.
He's more interested in giving billions of dollars to other nations, while farmers in urban cities around this country are literally being destabilized. And so whether it's the legal system, whether it's through executive order, or whether it's through the brave women and men who are serving as rapid responders. We literally have people who are volunteering in this city, on the southwest side, the northwest side, all over this city, to make sure that we're protecting children from being separated from their families.
Facts.
And we're talking about volunteers who are literally putting themselves at risk of being shot and killed by the federal government. And so whether it's the legal system, whether it's our continuous struggle for liberation through organizing, and whether it's through executive action, or whether it's through law, it would be nice if we actually had lawmakers in Washington that would actually hold this president accountable. And if they won't do it, then the city of Chicago will, using every single tool that's available to us.
Damn, let's go. Pocket, that's big clock right there, baby. Big clocks.
Which previous?
Poetry.
I'm going to get to it.
This is about to be a show,
Chicago
baby.
police officers, does this executive order authorize Chicago police to make an arrest if federal officers violate this order? But the broader question, too, is also how are city agencies preparing for the expected deployment of National Guard, even if they're deployed to Broadview, since that's outside city limits?
Well, we've been preparing for the deployment for months. It's why we relaunched the Know Your Rights campaign. It's why we put forth an executive order to ensure that all of our sister agencies, as well as our city departments, know exactly what to do in the event ICE agents or federal agents show up in our facilities or at our facilities. As far as the authority here, if the federal government violates this executive order, we will take them to court.
Oh.
But it doesn't explicitly authorize Chicago police to arrest federal officers by violating. The idea seems to be to take them to court over a violation and establish that.
You gonna arrest them or you gonna take them to court? What are we doing?
Correctly.
You've done very well, sir.
Jesse.
Thank you. Despite how difficult this might be at this time, do you feel it's a good time? Do you feel it's important to share a message to the Latino community to try to remain calm so they don't fall into the trap of confrontation, especially after what we've seen this weekend? We don't want to justify the president's intentions, and we don't want to jeopardize anybody.
Yeah.
Go to Tonya after.
You know, the Latino community has remained calm. And I'm grateful for all of the residents in this city that have remained calm during this very chaotic time. It's why he's escalating. Do you understand, like, when people are picking on you and you don't react, what do? They get angrier. This is proof positive that we have remained calm. I mean, at what point does our humanity and our democracy remain the most central focus here? Trump's federalized ICE personal military shot and killed someone.
Wow.
They shot someone else again just this past weekend. And here's my message to the immigrant community. It's the message that I have for all of Chicago. We will use every single tool that is available to us to protect the dignity and the sanctity of our humanity. And that I'm calling on this president to leave us the freak alone.
Oh, I should say fuck, bro. Yeah, you got to end that with a cuss word, my dog.
We're talking about a city where our economy is rebounding, where violent crime is going down in the city of Chicago, where black, brown, Asian, white folks are coming together, standing up for working people. The last message I would offer up is I need our congressional delegation to stand firm in this moment and not get distracted or weary. That's my message.
Leave us a freak alone.
Let's go, Tony.
Hi, Mayor.
You gotta cuss, man. I know there are people out here who tell me, like, hey, Phil, you need to stop cussing as much, stop saying the N-word as much. I call it the KNWE word, right? So, all put together, I get it, but that passion, leave me the freak alone. Like, this is not middle school, man. This isn't even kindergarten. What I said that to my son. Get out of here, bro.
Mayor.
Hi.
I wanted to ask a question. Why should people feel safe with an executive order that feds have refused to respect the previous one you had about wearing masks? And we saw at that corner on the west side, there was a federal agents with masks on. So why should people feel safe with this particular executive
Well, let me just offer clarity. The executive order around masks was a direction to the local law enforcement. Now, of course, we are making recommendations to the federal government that they should not send masked men with long guns and point them into the faces of black people and brown people. Right. We would hope that our federal government would recognize the error of such a thing. In terms of feeling absolutely safe, look, there's no secret here that we are under threat right now.
Y'all feel that way?
I'm not going to sit around and placate with people's emotions. Now, the one reason why I believe that we can feel safer in this moment, look at this stage. We're not alone. You know, one of the most difficult things to do with when you're feeling threatened is when you're by yourself. When you're by yourself. There's not a Chicagoan that's by themselves right now. It's not just an executive order. I'm talking about communities yesterday, 700, 400 people packing out rooms, organizing, preparing for this moment. If this was just something about executive orders, then I would concur that that would be not as thorough as we need to be. But this is just one action of many. And so I want people to see the entire package of how we are providing support in this moment. I wish I could say emphatically, do not be afraid. What I can say, though, is fear is not going to defeat the trauma that this president is trying to execute. It's going to take courage. It's going to take strength, and most of all, it's going to take unity. And that's what we have here in Chicago.
Yeah, word salad. Okay, good old word salad. I like that.
Timing of National Guard.
Type it up for word salad.
What do you want Chicagoans and police to do in response?
Well, look, this president has waffled in multiple occasions, which I believe is evident that we have been so emphatic in our position and resolved in our presentation that this president has attempted to find many different maneuvers to try to circumvent the power that we are establishing. Here's what the police department will do. They're going to protect our fundamental right to be able to peacefully assemble. They know that. They're going to make sure that we are not coordinating absent a warrant and forcing our local law enforcement to dub as federal ICE agents. As far as the people of Chicago, continue to stand firm, continue to document the rage that this administration is promulgating against the people of this city. And then I'm asking, of course, all of our elected officials, whether it's through executive order or through the passing of laws, to ensure that we maximize protection in this city.
All right, last two questions.
So
which quietly would mean I'm going to need more state resources, more tax dollars be deployed to fight against the Trump administration from a legal standpoint and maybe from a standpoint of budgets, whatever, right, to offset some of the federal cuts that could come down as a result of my actions. You know, you got to think strategically, politically on the map right here, chessboard, right? So right now, the mayor signed his executive order to stretch his power to say, hey, like Bonnie just said, hey, stay strong, Chicago. We have these ICE-free zones. ICE, you cannot come in these zones. That's cool. But also a part of that is realizing that you're not going to tell Trump that he can't come to Trump Towers in Chicago. How's that going to work, right? So all put together, not just the president in itself, you know, just to be real, but Trump's he's going to make an example out of this. And I think that the mayor is going to go down in a good fight because, like we showed a little while ago, crime in Chicago just doesn't happen out of the blue. Again, this is Chicago's son's time. Man shot in the loop. Boy walks to firehouse after being shot in the drive-by. Shot in a 13-year-old boy, I want to say, we saw earlier. Garfield Park, 1 dead, 1 wounded. 1 killed, 1 wounded. North Lawndale Park, fatally shot in Little Village. Like, 2 fatally shot in Auburn Gresham apartment. Like, girl, 16, critically injured, Southside shooting. Victims of corrupt cop. I ain't trying to hear that right now because that's not this, but it's not a fact of it doesn't happen, right? It does happen. $90 million settlements. Corrupt police officers. That's another conversation that can happen. $90 million of taxpayer money. So an insurance settlement, essentially, is going for corrupt cops. So when you look at it, there are issues that happen in Chicago, right? But at the same time, we can't sit here and act as if the National Guard is all of a sudden going to throw things off kilter. Things ain't right from the statistics and the data and the numbers and the reports. And when, again, Chicago is continuously to be looked at as, what is it? The crime mecca, crime capital of the world, crime capital of America. That's the problem. But let's get back to this, end this, and going to get to the next part because the mayor said something here about police officers weren't ordered to help ICE, but Fox News has something that says that they have some audio saying different. So we'll get there.
Things I'm wondering if you talked about a lot of coordination with folks. Has your administration coordinated at all with Cook County State's Attorney's Office? And are there like criminal charges that you would like to see her bring against these ICE agents for tear gassing in the middle of the streets? Or and if you could just also clarify whether this is a civil or a criminal violation. If they
hey, Runner Warrior, hold on. I support you. First off, Runner Warrior, thank you for your service to the city of Chicago. I'm gonna be real with you. Thank you for your service. How many years you dedicated to the city? Thank you for being safe, making home to your family every night, right? I think, and I said earlier, I don't think that stopping crime just happens with one administration through politics or anything else. There are underlying issues from education to jobs, money. Like there are a lot of things that really play a role in it, right? So again, thank you for your service. But for the main point is there are a lot of things underlying issues of crime. And we see it, whether it can be from single mother households, could be you can have mother and father in the house and the kid will still commit a crime, right? Maybe it's upbringing. And it's a part of realizing that some people may have been raised, not to say right or wrong. I'm not trying to be a deplorable commentary here, right? But it's like some people have a certain set of values they were raised on, and some people didn't. And it's not until you're exposed to it to say, damn, you know, why all of a sudden does this kid feel like they have to steal in order to survive? And until you understand that mindset, well, shit, maybe stealing is the only thing because nobody in their house is working. Maybe they're strung out on drugs. Maybe all these different things happen. Like, understand, people live different dynamics. These kids aren't just being raised by, you know, Steve Urkel and Family Matters and shit anymore, right? They're being raised by the streets and whatever they're adapted in iPad, or whatever they're exposed to, right? But to the main point, The crime in Chicago won't be solved with administration, won't be solved by the National Guard, because by the time the National Guard leaves, crime may drop by the time they deploy and get there. Cool. Well, hypothetically, right? But when they leave, what's going to make it not spike back up? There has to be some systems and processes, and the system and processes can't just be the National Guard. It has to be, I feel, number one, education. That's how personally, I feel if you start there, everything else trickles in. But then it's the fact of how you fund, pay teachers. It's a whole business. People don't look at education as a business either. But in order to reduce crime, you can't just throw money at crime. You have to throw money at education as well.
So you're looking to have police bring charges, have her file charges related to any other kind of action?
I believe they should. I most certainly believe they should. And look, we are having conversations with multiple levels of a government. One, to make sure that we're not criminalizing protesters. Let's start there. And it's incumbent upon every single level of government to make sure that we're protecting the right to be able to peacefully assemble. In Chicago, in the state of Illinois, the county of Cook, we should not be carrying out the same level of indignity against the people of this country as this administration has done against American residents. And so it works both ways. We should not criminalize the fundamental right to peacefully assemble. And when the federal government works outside of its constitutional authority, I do believe that law enforcement has a moral responsibility and obligation to hold those individuals and those systems accountable.
Good morning. Can you specify if this executive order is going to apply only to ACE agent or any federal agency that is supporting the immigration rates? Also, I know that you mentioned it, that if they violate it, they will be taken to court. But this administration has been taken to court since day one, multiple times. Do you think that they're going to follow this executive order?
Well, do I believe this president is going to follow simple law? Well, it's clear that he doesn't, right? I mean, he is a convicted felon himself, right? This is the person who released individuals who stormed the Capitol to stage a coup against the American people and set those individuals free. This president has spent more time lining the pockets of the ultra-rich, militarizing his own police force than he has using his time in office to make sure that people can afford to eat in this city and across America.
You know, something I just never really thought about till now, and you have to really think about it. This narrative of Trump being a convicted felon is nice, right? I don't think it boils the blood like it used to, because there have been national movements to clean the slate, to give felons, former felons, people who've been convicted of crimes, their voting rights, right? And I don't think that, there's one equal to the next with January 6th, but I think that at the end of the day, no bullshit, Democrats, just hear me for a second. The convicted felon shit didn't stop people from reelecting his ass. There has to be a point of realizing, respectfully, collectively, that if it didn't work the last election, how about we stop using these talking points, please? Because the shit ain't moving the needle. People don't give a fuck. That's all I'm trying to say. So let's be for real.
Or have access to health care. And so what we have seen, though, is that we have been quite effective across this country filing lawsuits. It's why there's a restraint and a restraining order against him right now in Portland. It's why most of his taxes that he has proposed have been deemed illegal. Now look, as a former social studies teacher, I can tell you that we've had social movements before where government rejected the very tenets of our fight for justice. But clearly, when the people are united and our fight for justice, we always prevail. Now, whether it's today or tomorrow, the actions that we do today, I believe, sets us up for real unity and liberation. And we're going to stay the course in Chicago, regardless of the blowback or the pushback.
All right, I'm with it.
Oh, and particularly in terms of its operations to raid or to stage the ICE operations. Because look, here's the part that's so disappointing. We have, as a local law enforcement department and as a city, we have cooperated with federal agents on a variety of matters, particularly getting illegal guns off the streets of Chicago. A few months ago, with cooperation with ATF, we removed over 170 illegal weapons that were trafficked in from states that voted for him. You know, as our brother said, this president is concerned about the wrong border. If he was really serious about driving violence down across America, he would not allow the illegal trafficking of guns that are coming from states that voted for him to be spread throughout cities in America. And that's what our focus is going to be, is keeping people safe and making sure that we're protecting the humanity of every single resident of the city. Thank you.
Let's go on.
Hi.
Yeah, last question. Just to be clear, if federal agents ignore this order, would this be a civil or criminal violation?
You know, I'll have to get back with you on that one, if you need that technicality, okay? Well, but I can tell you this, it will definitely be a violation against local law, right? Just like a city ordinance. And so we know that. Now, in terms of the ability to implement, criminal standards, I will just say this, what we know for sure, if they are in violation of the law, we're going to hold them accountable. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Hey, that was Mayor Johnson again. You can feel how you want to feel about him. I think the last time he made that argument, full face for us. Last time he made an argument, I really didn't agree with it, right? Because it's a fact of how can you sit here and witness the crime that's happening in Chicago and then go say respectfully that it's coming from guns in Indiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, other places. And these are, because basically Trump didn't focus on this. Guns are being imported in Chicago, and this is the reason crime is an issue. It's like, bro, let's be for real. That's the part where it's kind of like, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but that can't be the impetus of all the crime that's happening. Right? Again, underlying issues that need to be addressed. Education, I feel, is the number one pillar to get there, right? That's my number one thing, because I feel that if you know better, you do better, right? For what it is. But there was a comment made earlier that made me want to transition like this, for the full face at least. More teachers, more black male teachers, right? And more teachers in general. I can say that some of the black male teachers I've had throughout life, not a lot of them, maybe 5 or 6 to be honest, they were very impactful, right? The issue ends up being that the profession doesn't pay a lot. And 2, my wife is an educator, right? Even though I'm pumping my words. She's an educator. And I don't think half the people are actually ready and prepared to deal with more than their child, right? When you're talking about 20 or 30 different kids a day, middle school, you maybe have 100 plus kids, right? High school, maybe the same. They're different personalities. They're different things that you're not going to be adaptable or aware of. And I think the part of going in the classroom is like, bruh, to deal with these kids and lose my sleep, I got to be getting paid top dollar. Like, no lie, not to share too much of it, but be real. My wife's the vice principal, assistant principal. She's out of here at what, 6 in the morning? Back home to maybe 6 o'clock at night. Still working to them at midnight. So it's a fact of there's work that happens outside of it. So teachers are hoping that, you know what, hey, cool. Assistant principal too is, I guess it's like, cool, maybe y'all doing y'all work. The lesson plans, reading to the kids, doing your homework and everything else. But then when you get to a fact of a lot of these parents maybe working multiple jobs. Maybe they're going through things themselves, mentally, physically, whatever. You know, right? There's a lot of depression happening in the world too. And then at the same time, you get to a point of saying like, damn, not every child is coming from a whole household. Maybe the parents are dealing with substance abuse issues. Maybe the father's in the home, out of the home, substance abuse, mental health, sexual abuse. It happens, right? Realistically. And the trauma the child deals with that, you know, they kind of lash out by doing different things. And I think when we improve processes, when we improve a lot of access to say, you know what, just because a child's caught up in the system doesn't mean that they need to be put in prison early. They need to have some systems that are out there. What systems actually work? That a judge, a state attorney, that something you can point kids to say, hey, how do we fix this? But then why do people want to fix this if education and crime is business? right? Or sorry, jail is a business. But it is what it is. I want to thank everybody for a quick second, taking time out of your day, tapping into the stream. I think we've had over 17,000 people here today. A couple hundred people, 200 people, I think, that were here earlier when I looked at the chat a while ago. But I'm going to switch over here. The mayor said that there was not any, I guess, thing between the, let me get this together, between CPD and ICE. Well, Fox News, you know, Fox News like TMZ. Honestly, no bullshit. TMZ is the most trusted source of news. No lie. No bias. But then Fox News, to get to their point, they're going to uncover some shit too. They have some very good researchers over there at Fox News. CNN, a bit too biased to me. MSNBC, don't really fuck with them. But let's get into this. Again, thank y'all for liking and subscribing to the channel. CPD ordered not to help the ICE officers. See what the audio says.
Fox News police there were told to actually stand down on helping ICE agents who are in danger. Mike Tobin has this story for us, all the details. Hi, Mike.
And Dana, we've got a lot of rank-and-file Chicago police officers behind the scenes telling us that
Where's
they
his
are
neck?
outraged that the stand-down order went out to them after federal agents were attacked.
Where is his neck? Looks like a glob for real, like Gumby. Like that. Where's Bud neck at, bro? Fox News, get this man a neck.
The order appears to have come through a communication from the chief of patrol over the communication through the Office of Emergency Management and Communication, reading, "No units will respond to this." Multiple police sources have confirmed to us the message is authentic, and it is backed up by audio of the stand-down order.
And again, per the chief of patrol, we have all the units that per 999. Chief of Patrol said all units clear out from there. We're not sending anybody over to that location. All right, and 999, just to confirm, 39th Police in Kedzie, they were saying that they were being surrounded by that large crowd, and they were requesting the police were not sending. I'm waving off all the cars heading to 39th Police in Kedzie.
Again, those are the orders we're being given.
In an official statement, CPD says officers did respond, writing, quote, CPD responded to the scene to document the incident. CPD officers were also on the scene to maintain safety and traffic control. Now, chaos was triggered when, according to federal prosecutors, two individuals used their cars to ram the cars of Border Patrol agents. One of the agents shot a driver of one attacking vehicle. Those attackers are now charged federally. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker says the facts need to play out.
We don't have a lot of facts. Remember, these are the same folks who killed a person, unarmed person, just a couple of weeks ago in Franklin Park. At first, they said that the officer had been threatened with his life. The reality of it and the truth of it has now come out, and that wasn't the case. They killed somebody. They are just putting out their propaganda, and then we've got to later determine what actually happened.
300 Illinois National Guardsmen have now been called up for a 2-month deployment to Chicago. What you're looking at right now is video of the scene that triggered that particular radio call. Tear gas and pepper balls were deployed into the crowd after agents said they...
All right, let's be for real, bro. You trying to get somewhere, I don't care if you don't know about the protest, whatever. Somebody dancing in the street like this, you gonna get upset, bro.
Were attacked.
Don't care.
But meantime, as I just mentioned, 300 Illinois National Guardsmen have been called up for a 2-month deployment to Chicago to protect federal personnel and property. Also, Texas National Guardsmen, 400 of them, have been called up for deployment to both Illinois, to Portland, and an undetermined location. Back to you, Dana.
All right, we have there. I'm gonna flip over to the Superintendent of Police in Chicago having a press conference now.
Jen, good to see you.
How are you? Good to see you again.
You too. Actually, on that note about the inability of arresting federal agents, I know you all are still responsible for documentation. So I guess my question is, how closely are these situations being documented in terms of the actions of protesters as well as the actions from federal agents? Because as we know, there have already been lawsuits popping up in Broadview, for example, because of the situations, people being pushed to the ground, potential excessive force that people are claiming they've received in that area. So if there are court cases that stem from this, how closely are you documenting both sides of the situation?
Well, here's what we don't document things on that level. Okay. If we make an arrest, if we put hands on someone, if we use force as an agency ourselves, we follow our policies. And this goes back to me saying that the rules of engagement for federal agents are going to be different from that of local law enforcement, especially at CPD. A lot of what we do and the way that we respond, our policies are more restrictive than federal and state laws. So when you are looking at what a federal agent is doing, you might be judging that federal agent based on our policies, and you can't do that. Those things have to be separated. So when a federal agent takes someone into custody, the way that they use force, that's going to be for the federal agency to explain, not CPD. So what we worry about and what I worry about are my officers policing constitutionally and keeping each other safe, keeping the city safe, and keeping everyone safe around them, and stopping those who will commit violent acts against anyone.
Joining us is former
That's what I'm
Speaker
concerned about. So we don't document what they do. That's up to them.
Good afternoon, Superintendent. Caroline with the Chicago Tribune. Nice to meet you. Yes.
Good to meet you, Caroline.
So the feds called for help at 12:28 p.m. There's a computer message timestamped at 12:28 p.m. that says no units will respond. Dispatchers later captured on audio saying that she's waving off units from 39th and Kedzie. I am wondering what would you call that, if not a stand down, and if there were already enough units on scene, how many were there circa 12:28, 12:30 p.m.?
That's something else that we have to look at, and we have to see because sometimes what you hear on the radio does not necessarily reflect what's happening on the ground once someone's there, but we did have officers over there. We have a timeline and a breakdown of who responded, and if you listen to the radio transmission, there were multiple officers who said they were going to that location, and they showed up because that's what CPD does when they hear that someone's in danger. Now, one of the things that I will say when it comes to that location was separate from the shooting. That was where vehicles were rammed. I believe it was along 31st Street. I believe 3100 West 35th Street. We're still looking into that. This is something that was said over the air, and when I say we're still looking into it, this is part of our after action. I want to be clear about one thing, though. This will also be a part of the after action. When there is an immediate need for CPD to respond, I don't want anyone, especially when someone's life may be in danger, I don't want anyone to have to call anybody in leadership. I want them to respond, and I want them to respond immediately, because it doesn't matter what an order is. If you know as a law enforcement agent that another law enforcement agent is in trouble or anyone else, and you need to stop violence against that person, I want them responding, and I want them to respond. Now, you can always explain why you may have disobeyed an order if that was in order. But I can tell you right now, there is no internal memo that says that. Now, there may have been an understanding of that, but we want to make sure that our officers are responding on the scene. And this is something that we're going to be talking to our officers about. This is something we're going to be talking to our leadership so that that message trickles down. If there are exigent circumstances, work now and then talk about your response later, because you will respond based on the totality of circumstances that you see at the scene right then and there. And if there are split-second decisions that need to be made, we can always explain those actions for those officers.
Final question. Afternoon, Superintendent. My name is Peter Nikias. I'm a reporter with Illinois Answers.
How are you, Peter?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. I'm curious if at any point during the afternoon you or anyone in your command staff had a conversation with whoever was in command for the different federal agencies and just said, hey, you don't need to use gas because we know how to do crowd control. A lot of the 9th District, 8th District regulars were there. We saw residents calling them out because they knew them from previous interactions. Did you or anyone in your command staff at any point say, like, hey, it doesn't need to go down like this?
Well, this is why I said that I am right now having conversations with federal leadership when it comes to ICE or immigration, so that we can work that part of it out. And this is why I'm saying now that at CPD we're going to show up. Yeah. If we're there and we're in control of the crowd and we're handling that, there's no need for the federal agents to be confronted by these protesters or have the protesters confront them.
Yes,
so
just a point of clarification on why you brought that up. So I understand absolutely.
You're having a good job on this. Great response for the most part compared to the mayor. All the way. That's pretty zone should crazy. Waiting on that to get his question and I'll hop into something else. Yes.
But I'm just curious, like, why not have that conversation that day of like, hey,
so here's the deal. As I told you before, our officers were deployed all over the city. So to get enough people there so that everyone felt safe, it took time to do that. Now, again, we can have that conversation on the scene, but if that's not how they're trained, that's probably not going to take much effect. That's why communication afterwards has to happen. And I've already reached out to the leadership and expressed concern about that and what we're going to do moving forward, and that's why the communication has to happen.
I'm turning them up, I am, but that's their mics. I can't do nothing about it.
Has always been around the belief that CPD is working with immigration enforcement, which we're not. And there's always been that difficulty. But right now, I'm standing here to tell you this. I don't really care about what people think about that anymore because I know what we're doing. And I'll just explain that so that we can avoid these types of situations happening in the future. Now, I get what you're saying. That's always, when we're looking at a situation like that, we're looking at it in hindsight, right? And things were kind of all over the place. We now know this was the first time something like this happened involving immigration, where someone rammed a federal agent and a shooting occurred as a result of it. Boxed federal agents in, and a shooting occurred. This was the first time this happened. This is why we're doing an after action, so that we can better respond to this the next time something like this happens. So I get you. So hold on. No, hold on. Listen, I just need to address another thing, and this is very important. There's a lot of heat out there around the Chief of Patrol. And I'm going to make this clear. The Chief of Patrol would never tell someone to stand down when any fellow law enforcement agent is in trouble or in need of help. Now, I will say there was a lot of miscommunication, talking points back and forth about what was really happening out there on the ground, and we need to do better.
We're saying no.
And if we screw something up, we mess up, we fess up. We fix it. But what I will tell you is this. I'm going to tell you about a man with 30 years on this job who has been out there and handled over 400 protests as the Chief of Patrol. A man who stands on the front line with all of his officers. And I know this for a fact because I stand out there with them.
Go ahead. John Amos up there.
The weekend of Mexican independence, he was out there every single day, worked 18 hours every day, out there with his troops. The DNC, the No Kings March, every protest involving the Palestinians, protests over Gaza, protests over immigration. The man
Same
is
guy.
out there. He has worked on the South Side, the West Side, downtown. The man loves this job, and he loves his officers. And I'm telling you this from the perspective of someone who sits and talks with this man every day. He rarely goes home. He wants to make sure that each and every one of these officers goes home safely. He has the respect of the protests and the protesters and the people who lead these protest groups. He has a relationship with them. He knows how to talk to people. He knows how to deal with people.
They're going to flip that, boy. You know they're going to flip that.
And the fact that someone could post one thing without any background, with any context, without any information, put lies out there about this man and what he has given to this city, what he has given to this department. I'm just going to stand here and tell you right now, if I were to turn my back on this man because of political BS, and yes, political BS, and people's political beliefs, I would be a coward. That's not going to happen.
Hey.
That's my partner in crime. I will go to war with this man.
You gotta love that, man. Loyalty
I'm
right
not
there.
going to allow anybody to rake this man over the coals.
Let's go.
The DNC could not have been a success without him.
Clock it.
Couldn't have been without him. So, you can't be pro-police when you need something.
Let's go.
And then anti when it's politically advantageous.
Let's go.
You either believe that the job of policing is a tough job or you don't. You either believe in law and order or you don't. We're going to judge a person based on a post. This man has served this city with honor. And I'm going to stand with him till the end. This man's brother was a federal agent who is now deceased. He talks about it. He talks about where he came from. Small town, poor man. We have similar stories. Never thought he'd be the chief of patrol and thankful for it every single day. When I talked to him, he was concerned that our officers who would go there would be exposed to chemical agents without their masks. He wanted to make sure that these officers were well prepared if they got there. He wanted to protect.
Hold on, my bad. Okay, I see. No sound? Hold on. I just caught that technical difficulties. I think it's a Mac thing. Hold on, I gotta go over bomb. There we go. Sound should work now. I knew it was gonna happen the second I looked away.
See, when you don't know the
there we go. Appreciate that, Virginia.
To go online and listen to those who are trolling. I don't really care about that because I know the facts. So I've always said this, and I tell this to my officers.
Appreciate y'all calling it out.
You can look at your reputation, and you can look at your character. People can determine your reputation. All they have to do is go to social media and tell a lie. Put something up there, post it. But what they can never take away is your character. Because I know the man's character, he knows his character. His family knows his character. Reputation, I never worry about someone's reputation until I have a conversation with them and I get to know their character. People will say your reputation precedes you. It does until you get to know a man or a woman's character. And I'm telling you right now, in law enforcement, with everything that all of us in law enforcement have been through over the years, we cannot turn our backs on each other because of what was posted online. When we do things like that, we're failing each other. How can we talk about anyone else who doesn't support us as police officers if we're not supporting each other?
Ella tapping in from New Jersey. Appreciate you. I'm in Florida. Where's everybody else tapping in from? Got Tennessee.
And I'm telling you, Chief Hine is a man of character.
Baltimore.
And I'm standing here saying this to you, and I don't really care what anybody has to say about it, and I'm going to stand with him. He is my chief of patrol. We will protect this city. We are going to protect all of our law enforcement agents when we're out there. But most of all, we serve the residents of this city. And we are going to protect you. That's what we're here for. That's what he's concerned about, which is why I chose him as chief of patrol. He cares about this city, and he cares about the residents of this city. He cares about law enforcement. And we're going to make...
I bet you didn't know the average wedding...
Yeah, I'm paid for YouTube Premium. I ain't supposed to have no ads in here. I guess I was in though. See, that's crazy. See how they just snuck the ad in? Let me make this full screen again, man. That's crazy. We don't have ads in here. I pay for YouTube Premium. I pay for YouTube Premium for y'all. No lie. They've been trying to sell me YouTube Premium for years, and I didn't do it until I started streaming. So I realized that I couldn't stream and then have y'all wait for ads before I get to the content, right? Can't wait for the skip ad. So, you know, yeah, regardless of that. Chicago is going to be a situation where it's not going to be solved again overnight, right? It's not going to be solved overnight. I think that it's kind of a boiling point where we are in America, where we are with politics. Right now, I'll show you that the Senate is on the floor. They're praying. Have a moment of prayer here.
To defend our liberties and to unify our nation and world until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream. We pray in your amazing name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. And real quick, Roscoe asks, Hip Hop, did you find your dad yet? Yes, I found him when I was 22, actually. Crazy, right? He served in the military, E7, retired Air Force for what it is. I did a true people search. It was like March. Actually, no, it was like late April. Because I had booked a trip to California, Cinco de Mayo, right? And I did a 1-800 people search. I typed in his name. And I called him for the first time. I was 22 years old. I booked a trip out to Cali and whatever. And I went to go see him. Found out I had 4 younger siblings on top of 3 older siblings. I thought I was only child for what it is, right? So all that happened, and I, I didn't find myself. It kind of helped close my circle, because it was part of, single mother part. Then you have the part where you're kind of feel yourself out, understand where you are in life. So I am whole, and now I'm a whole father. And last night on the stream, people who were here last night, 2:45 in the morning, we were streaming about the Portland protest, and my son came down because he wanted daddy to put him to sleep. You know what I'm saying? And they have girl dad. I'm a boy dad. Whatever that is, I'm a father. So, yeah, I have found mine, and I'm playing mine back in, right? So I am being the father that I always wanted. So Roscoe, yes, I did find my dad. I don't call him that. He's a sperm donor. First and foremost, let's get that twisted. No, don't get it twisted. That's what it is. But at the same time, you know, thank you for your question. But yes, I found mine. I hope you find yours.
Businesses.
Oh, we got Ms. McConnell here.
Authorized military activities purposes.
Mr. President,
Senator from Iowa.
there's a not so perfect storm brewing for farmers in my state of Iowa and in agricultural states generally. Many factors are coming together and all at once, like low grain prices, high input costs, consolidation in the industry, and uncertainty from trade and tariffs. It's beginning to look more and more like the 1980s to me. One thing that concerns me is the lowering of land values in Iowa. Land value has gone down 3% since last year and down 5.4% since the same time in 2023. That's not as bad as it was in the 1980s. It was a very catastrophic drop in prices compared to what I just quoted you for now. And in the 1980s, that didn't happen overnight.
It was old as shit in the 80s.
It crept up on us very slowly. And we don't want to let that happen again.
Roscoe, appreciate you, man. Let's put your time out for 5 minutes.
Today, when it comes to land prices, as you know,
put you in time out.
If farmers lose too much land value, they won't be able to leverage
Thank you, Roscoe.
it for debt to cover their expenses. That happened in the 1980s.
Got a call coming in. Hold on.
And as I said, it kind of crept up on us at that particular time. And Congress didn't see it coming soon enough. Congress waited too long to act. Farmers have been pleading with Congress for the last 2 or 3 years Congress had been pleading in the 1980s, pleading with Congress for 2 to 3 years before Congress was able to pass some help for the farmers. In the meantime, farmers went bankrupt, and a lot of farmers were lost due to suicide. Now that may sound everyday business, but if you've been operating a family farm and you were the 5th or 6th generation doing that, and you lost it because of bankruptcy, low prices, land values going down, you become depressed and ashamed.
Hey, Rosie.
And I'm sure that's why a lot of people committed suicide. Now we have a farm safety net in place. We have tried to be on top of farmers' mental health to a greater extent than in the past. So hopefully all these bad things that happened in the 1980s won't happen again. But I'm here saying I don't want to see it happen again. But we can't be complacent knowing the history of Congress being too slow to act. So Congress ought to act now before it's too late. I yield the floor. I suggest the absence of a quorum.
Clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Alsobrooks.
Yeah, we had old boy speaking. You know, I had to take a phone call that a homie called. There's a quorum call in the Senate. The farmers are hurting. And I think a lot of people have realized the farmers are hurting, but I don't think there's actually a solution for them. I'm going to switch gears here. There's a Democratic candidate who was fantasizing about political assassinations. and I'll be out front and tell you, like, we're not in a day and age. Let me fix this up for y'all. My bad. We're not in a day and age now, after, especially fresh off the Charlie Kirk wound, where we can have these kind of discussions politically, right? So I'm going to see what the J. Jones situation is about. Again, thank y'all for tapping in. I'm going to be continuing to monitor the Senate floor for what it is, but I do also feel, hold on, let me move some windows over. A lot of unnecessary windows that I help run a more efficient stream if I just switch some things over. Let me get this started. Actually, no, let me switch this over because we're jumping back and forth. We don't need quality to drop more than it is. Either way, thank y'all for tapping in. Let's get to it.
U.S. House, Kevin McCarthy, welcome, Mr. Speaker. Just when you think there is no bottom, the Democrat who wants to be the top prosecutor in Virginia is fantasizing about capital murder of a political opponent. How did we get here?
I don't know, it's disqualifying. I mean, this is where the party has to put their state and their country ahead of politics. They need to go to this individual and say, you have just been disqualified, because they didn't know about it. But now when they read it, how could you possibly ever allow a person that's going to be the law officer of the state in that position? I mean, I was shocked watching what happened to poor Charlie Kirk, this assassination, and then seeing the poll of the younger people where 48% think it's okay to assassinate somebody for political beliefs.
Right.
You know, this is like the 1960s in America again, and have we not learned from that? We can disagree, but we should respect other people's opinion. You know, I listened to your clip ahead of time. We need to fight fire with fire. No, we need to fight ideas with better ideas. That's what we need to do. But we have been pushing ourselves into these red and blue states. You watch what Gavin Newsom is doing in California by trying to wipe out any Republican's ability to represent them in California. And he's just saying that he wants to do it. And it's really for his own political belief that he wants to run for president somehow. Again, going against the Constitution of his state. But for this individual to run for Attorney General of Virginia, the Commonwealth, it is disqualifying. He should resign today from his campaign.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, all the way factual, I don't think we're in a phase where you can joke about it like that, right? Or even throw it out there for your opponent. I think political, it's like, it's a campaign war of egos, right? Because you have one person who wants to do it for whatever reason. Could be credentials, could be the fact that they actually want to serve, could be just family legacy. You never know the real intuition, the real ego vice, or whatever, like, you know, it gets the ego jumping on why people run for office. But I do think that enticing violence, want to slap shit out of somebody is one thing, right? To be honest, you want to slap shit out of your opponents because they say something about your wife, your kids, your family, your money, everything. You're being judged by not only the people in the community, but also your opponent, right? And they're attacking you. And you want to beat the shit out of them sometimes. But not to the point of violence, of like death. And I think that's where you have to really draw the line. Like, we have to be a better country. And I think the part of it is, and I hear it from a lot of people, like, wow, all of a sudden, after slavery, after the Civil War, after Jim Crow, after all this shit, why do we have to be nice now? I wasn't born in those times. I couldn't tell you. I'm living right now. And I think a part of it is community culture, black culture especially too. We're taking the trauma from generations ago and making it relatable to today's shit, but some of that just doesn't relate. And some of it is the simple fact of, you can't just go have a duel with a bitch and shoot their ass dead like you did 200 years ago. Right? To be factual. You can't just say, oh, I challenge you to a duel, pam, pam. We're going to turn around at dusk dawn and shoot each other in the fucking back. Whoever turn around first is going to win. Alexander Hamilton type shit, right? That's not the America we live in today. You do that today, your ass going to jail. Unless it's self-defense. That's true. But there is a situation where we have to realize that it's not okay to threaten your political opponent with violence, because all it's going to do is entice your supporters to do the same thing. And I hate to say it, you end up having these neo-Nazi liberals, these neo-Nazi Republicans, who are so caught up in the nonsense on their ideology, perspective on what's right and wrong, that they would go just as crazy to do it. So if you're a leader, respectfully, do better. Not even to make it Republican Democrat, just do better. But at the same time, let's get back to this.
You know, Speaker, most Americans know the line between contrast and conflict. I'm trying to figure out, was it social media, this insatiable desire for attention, which you and I witnessed when we served together? I mean, what is driving the dehumanizing of those with whom we disagree? I mean, I watched you for 8 years be just as nice, like in person, with people who would never vote for you as you did those who did. I mean, I never saw you dehumanize anyone.
Is using our service
You have to respect.
Hold on, I gotta switch this over because the governor of Illinois is live now.
Our nation's cities. I want to thank Attorney General Kwame Raoul and his staff, along with my general counsel, Ann Spillane, and our excellent governor's office legal team for working tirelessly for weeks now to prepare federal lawsuits in anticipation of this unconstitutional invasion of Illinois by the federal government. For weeks now, Donald Trump, Kristi Noem, and Gregory Bovino have brought their militarized CBP and ICE agents to the streets of Chicago to cause violence and chaos in this city. They need to stop inciting our city's residents. Since the beginning of this invasion, families have been snatched up off the streets or removed from their homes, zip-tied and detained for hours, including especially U.S. citizens and legal residents of our state. And in the words of CBP Chief Patrol Agent Greg Bovino, they're being chosen by how they look. Peaceful protesters have been hit with tear gas and shot with rubber bullets. Journalists simply reporting the facts on the ground have been targeted and arrested. U.S. citizens, including children, have been traumatized and detained. This escalation of violence is targeted and intentional and premeditated. The Trump administration is following a playbook: cause chaos, create fear and confusion, make it seem like peaceful protesters are a mob by firing gas pellets and tear gas canisters at them. Why? To create the pretext for invoking the Insurrection Act so that he can send military troops to our city. He wants to justify and normalize the presence of armed soldiers under his direct command. I want to take you through the steps that he's taken to follow the playbook and show how it is playing out real time here in Illinois. When I first heard reports of Trump's plan to send armed military troops into our streets, more than 100 elected officials, business leaders, clergy, law enforcement, educators, and community organizations gathered on August 25th to send an unequivocal message to Donald Trump. We don't want troops on the streets of Chicago. There was never an insurrection invasion on the ground that justified the deployment of the military to our American city. We stood out there on...
Oh, is it still double sounds? Yes or no?
A beautiful day at River Point Park to make that point. Donald Trump's deranged depiction of Chicago as a hellhole, a war zone, and the worst and most dangerous city in the world is just complete BS.
Thank you, Double.
He clearly has decided to declare war on a great American city that has the lowest homicide rate in 60 years, in a state that has record employment and near record tourism. And he's done it for some unspoken reason. I spent the days and weeks following that out in our communities in Bronzeville, in Austin, in Little Village, Berwyn, South Shore, and others, walking and talking and listening to real Chicagoans and local business owners, something Donald Trump, Greg Bovino, Tom Homan, and Kristi Noem have never bothered to do. No insurrections, no invasions. The folks in the neighborhoods do not want armed troops marching in their streets. When it comes to public safety, they want civilian law enforcement when they need them, and jobs and after-school programs for kids in the neighborhoods. They do not want Donald Trump to occupy their communities. Then the Trump invasion began. Since ICE and CBP announced their operations on September 8th, our people have been subjected to violence, intimidation, and harassment. They have struck fear in our communities, including notably fear in the hearts of U.S. citizens. Trump and the thuggery that his agents have brought has actively made us less safe. Less than a week later, on September 12th, ICE shot and killed a man in Franklin Park, a nearby suburb of Chicago. His name was Silverio Villegas Gonzalez. Reports say that he had just dropped his kids off at daycare and was headed to work. Shortly after that incident, ICE issued a statement justifying the killing, saying that the federal agent was seriously injured, sustained multiple injuries, and was dragged a significant distance. Immediately, we were left with more questions than answers. And frankly, the story just didn't add up. I demanded a full accounting into the facts of the situation. The community was rightfully distraught. Even Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum demanded answers. The facts are coming out, and they are raising even more questions. The Chicago Sun-Times obtained body camera footage from Franklin Park PD. The agent said on camera his injuries were nothing major and that he was dragged a little bit. As a reminder, DHS said that the agent was seriously injured, sustained multiple injuries, and was dragged a significant distance. His children, Silverio's children, have now been left without a father, and they and the public deserve to know the truth. There's been zero accountability or transparency from ICE or the administration. Last week, federal agents dressed in camouflage gear conducted a military-style raid on an apartment building in South Shore, a neighborhood of Chicago.
My bad, y'all.
They brought Black Hawk military helicopters and more than 100 agents in full tactical gear. Even though it was supposedly a very dangerous and important mission, they brought dozens of cameras and set them up so that they could film their attack on the building in HD for social media. See for yourself.
Hey. This is the Chicago raid? Gotta go see this. It's the music. Yeah.
Even though they documented the raid, their propaganda video conveniently left out important facts. In the dead of night, and seemingly for the cameras, armed federal agents emerged from the Black Hawk helicopters, rappelling onto the roof of that apartment building. According to media reports, the agents ransacked multiple apartments and detained almost everyone in the building, including U.S. citizens and children who had done nothing wrong. Witnesses told reporters that federal officers zip-tied the hands of people, including children and seniors.
That's ridiculous.
Some, including U.S. citizens, were detained in the back of vans for hours. seemingly proud of this shameful treatment of innocent people. They recorded it, and Kristi Noem posted the video, bragging about the operation. Since we sat through that propaganda, I think it's important to hear directly from members of the community who experienced this takeover of the building.
Neighbors like Ebony Watson says they ducked for cover as they
get the
heard
volume
several
up.
flashbangs go
Oh,
off.
yeah.
They was terrified. The kids was crying. People was screaming. They looked very distraught. I was out there crying when I seen the little girl come around the corner. Because they was bringing the kids out too. Had them zip tied to each other. That's all I'm asking. Where's the morality? Where's the human? One of them literally laughed. He was standing right here. He said, them kids.
Watson says budget trucks and military-style vans were used to separate parents from their children. Other neighbors say
All right, let's move on. No one can hear it, although ABC 7 gets credit for it.
Big 16-inch chainsaw with a round blade on it, cutting this fence down. We're under siege. We're being invaded by our own military.
The FBI did confirm this morning that they did help the U.S. Border Patrol carry out a targeted immigration enforcement operation in this area, and they say they have been supporting these efforts at the direction of the U.S. Attorney General.
Imagine being a child awakened in the middle of the night by a Black Hawk helicopter landing on your roof. Imagine an armed stranger entering your home and forcibly removing you from your bed, zip-tying your hands, separating you from your family, and detaining you in a dark van for hours. This didn't happen in some faraway authoritarian regime. It happened right here in Chicago, right here in the United States of America. The reports of excessive use of force against children is unconscionable. And the way many innocent residents who lived in the building were treated is appalling. In response, I've directed the Illinois Department of Children and Family Services and the Illinois Department of Human Services to provide support and to evaluate the treatment of the children who were traumatized.
Yeah,
If they find suspected abuse or neglect by federal agents, the state will be taking every possible action to hold those individuals accountable. Now, I'd like to turn to some examples of the more egregious actions that we've seen from ICE, CBP, and the other federal agents. Over the past several weeks, it has been made abundantly clear that Trump's invasion force is not going after the worst of the worst, like he said. They're harassing and detaining many people based only on the color of their skin. Tamale vendors, delivery people, people looking for work at Home Depot, and even families just out and about enjoying themselves on a sunny day. Dasha Ramirez, an 8-year-old girl, and her family were detained by federal agents while enjoying a day in Millennium Park. Witnesses saw her crying and clutching her doll. Honestly, what danger did they represent? What is it that they presented that was so awful? And how did detaining them make anyone safer? Federal agents have been openly carrying assault rifles downtown, racially profiling people, and based on that, demanding proof of citizenship, and snatching people up in our neighborhoods without a judicial warrant. All of it rightfully has Illinoisans very upset. In the small suburban village of Broadview, with a population of 8,000, federal agents have turned 2 into a war zone by firing chemical agents and tear gas at peaceful protesters. They've used rubber bullets and flashbangs. Agents reportedly unholstered their guns and pointed them at peaceful protesters. They arrested a journalist who was a bystander, and they fired a chemical weapon at a CBS reporter in her car. They even detained Juan Munoz, an Oak Park trustee, and they're detaining people for extended periods in a facility not designed for that purpose. After seeing this, I could not, in good faith, allow federal agents to continue inciting people who were there to express their First Amendment rights. At the request of the Broadview Police Department and with the help of the Cook County Sheriff's Office, we sent backup to ensure people could safely express their rights while also protecting nearby Broadview residents who have had ICE and CBP operating in their neighborhoods in an aggressive fashion and interfering with their daily lives. As someone who has, myself, peacefully protested since I was a kid, I understand the sentiments on the ground from some of the advocates, but I want to say this: peaceful protesters are welcome. Federal agents who abuse their position to terrorize Illinoisans and incite violence are not welcome. They aren't receiving any orders from Trump to cease and desist their aggressive behavior. Remember, they answer only to Trump, not to the people of Illinois.
Well,
in case there's any doubt about that, Nome, Bovino, and their agents have been escalating the situation outside the ICE facility and inhibiting the Broadview police from doing their jobs. At one point, state police asked CBP leaders for time to move the crowd to avoid any unnecessary confrontations. Rather than give state police time to protect the protesters and the ICE agents, Kristi Noem chose to drive her motorcade through the protesters to create clashes. Shortly after, Bovino came out to threaten mass arrests. These stories are only scratching the surface. While all of this happened, we got reports that tear gas was unnecessarily thrown by agents at people on a busy street in Logan Square, right near an elementary school and a grocery store. A Chicago alderman at a hospital asked masked officers some questions about someone that they detained, and she was arrested for it.
Learn your laws. He has constitutional rights.
No.
He has constitutional rights. Do you have a sign?
No.
Do you
Oh.
have a warrant for me?
Turn around.
Oh.
Turn around and leave that. He's under. I'm gonna arrest you. You're gonna be placed under arrest. Turn around.
Oh shit! That's a female.
Can somebody go in the hallway and get Lisa?
That's
for
a
me, please?
female.
Can somebody go in the hallway and get Lisa for me? This is an older person who's being under arrest. I need my other staffer who's in the hallway by registration to come here, please.
That's wild, y'all.
Can somebody get my staffer, please?
This is a hospital. Do you have a sign to this warrant for him?
That's wild, bro. They snatched your girl up, bro.
I am asking. I did not touch you.
He told you to leave.
He touched you.
Now you're under arrest.
Hey, reach out and touch, bro. Hey.
Is Lisa still out there?
It is very simple. It is very simple. That man has constitutional rights. I did not touch you. This is a public space. I am not trespassing. I am asking you. Do you have a signed judicial warrant? I am asking.
I ain't say nothing about her not being human. I'm just saying the way she got snatched up. That was it.
You are an agent. You are a federal agent.
We do not need.
Some of my best friends are
I
stuck.
am an elected official and I'm asking. Do you have a signed judicial warrant? I'm the alderman of this
Can you keep recording? I need a call.
It's not about being, hold on to the chat real quick. It ain't about being inhumane and none of that. It was the way she got snatched up though. That was funny as shit. I don't care what nobody said. Like, oh, you were out here talking to me. He just, man, hey, you were under arrest. Fuck all this. Hey, listen. I said that's a female. That's all you need to aid. He didn't hurt her. They didn't do it like they did the senator out of California. Because the senator out of California, when we streamed that, they hit his ass like a fucking offensive lineman going through the A-gap on the damn counter. You feel me? They got that one guard came, bomb, pushed his ass up out of there. So, hey, calm down for real, but we good.
Official for peacefully asking questions isn't a demonstration of authoritarianism, then what is? I refuse to let Donald Trump, Kristi Noem, and Gregory Bovino continue on this march toward autocracy. Their plan all along has been to cause chaos, and then they can use that chaos to
Appreciate that, Ronald Warrior.
Donald Trump's power. They think they can fool us all into thinking that the way to get out of this crisis that they created is to give them free rein. Well, that plan will only work if we let it. The state of Illinois is going to use every lever at our disposal to resist this power grab and get Noem's thugs the hell out of Chicago. I'm not afraid. I am not afraid, and I won't back down. Now, before I turn the podium over, the court here has given U.S. Department of Justice 2 days to respond.
I'm out of shape just like you, Governor, bro. The only thing we're not backing down from is the plate, bitch. You're going to back down for it. Let's get out of here.
The next hearing will be on Thursday. And with that,
Bruce,
I'd like to pass it over to our terrific Attorney General, Kwame Raoul.
Thank you, Governor. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
As we all know, the President has for some time been threatening to deploy the National Guard into Chicago and into the state of Illinois. And that's significant. And he's been threatening to militarize our streets, and in many ways has done so. This morning, I filed a lawsuit challenging the unlawful deployment of the National Guard troops to Illinois, including the Illinois National Guard, the call for the Texas National Guard. And my lawyers have just, as the governor updated you, were just in court arguing these actions. We're seeking a temporary restraining order, and we'll hear from the government from the federal government within a couple of days. The American people, regardless of where they reside, should not live under the threat of occupation by the United States military, particularly for the reason that their city or state leadership has fallen out of the president's political favor. I said we would be prepared to respond to any unlawful deployment, and that moment has come, and we have responded. In the more than 40 lawsuits we have filed challenging the Trump administration's unlawful actions, we've explained that the executive branch has to follow the law. A president cannot go beyond the authority granted by Congress with regards to deploying the National Guard. The militia clauses of the United States Constitution give Congress sole authority to decide what factual circumstances allow the president to federalize the National Guard. The Posse Comitatus Act prohibits members of the military from engaging in civilian law enforcement. Just last month, a judge in California recognized that fact. Our local law enforcement have shown time and time again that they are effective at maintaining peace throughout Illinois. And the 10th Amendment preserves the state's sovereignty and right to do so. And there is no need or justification for a militarized response to anything going on in Chicago. It is unfair to National Guardsmen.
Put me to sleep, man.
It is unfair to local law enforcement.
I'll tell you what.
And it is certainly unfair to the law-abiding citizens.
I don't care. I said it earlier this week and last week and maybe the week before. Politics is boring, bro. Even hearing this dude, it's boring. I can't sit here and listen to this guy without almost falling asleep. And I've been with y'all almost 3 hours. And it's been the most boring speaker that's out there. I'm looking for other content. There's some stuff happening in Portland again. These fights. I posted a video earlier. Like, listen, dude went out there with American flag and got last night. But dude is like about to put me to sleep. I can't sit here and listen to the rest of this. I can't have y'all as an audience sit there and listen to it either. Right? Hold on. Y'all had to see a bit of this in Portland yesterday. This is what they're talking about in the Portland part of this whole thing. Yes, go to Trump. He's entertaining. Yeah, Trump is entertaining. Jasmine Crockett is entertaining. I kind of hated sidebar when people just come at Jasmine Crockett, say, "Hey, what happened? Why she's code switching everything else, whatever." It's like, bruh, when you listen to the Attorney General for the state of Illinois, he gonna put your ass to sleep. I'd rather hear Jasmine Crockett snap on y'all ass and listen to the rest of that, right? But let's get back to this protest. Well, I try to find something else. Still watching the Senate floor, waiting for a good speech to happen on the Senate floor, something that's click-worthy. But again, first time here, real quick. No. I gotta stop. I have to stop for 2 seconds and thank y'all, because guess what? We hit 7,000 subscribers. You, on your phone, on your iPad, on your TV, wherever you are in the world right now. Let me know in the chat where you're tapping in from. I'm in Florida. Let me know. We saw Nashville in here earlier, other places. But we hit over 7,000 subscribers. I'm telling you now, I didn't think it would happen this way. Again, we started off less than 400 subscribers in April. 6 months of inconsistent streaming and inconsistent posting schedules. And guess what? We've hit over 7,000 subs. I'm fully monetized. So yeah, woo, ads, all other stuff. Yeah, we'll get there. I'm not asking for your money. Just watch the channel, watch the videos, and I know, long story short, eventually share it. Something goes viral, your boy get paid. And we're going to go ahead and finish the desktop and the entire office. But just want to take a second and say thank y'all for taking the time out of your schedule tapping in with your boy. If it's your first time here, go ahead and subscribe if you enjoy the content. If it's your second time here and you haven't subscribed, just subscribe to the content. I'm going to keep posting it. Algorithm's going to bring it back. And the third thing, if you continue to be here and you support the channel, thank you for continuing to support the channel. I really do appreciate you helping me build a community here, right? But either way, don't know how you found me, Deborah. Well, you found me now, baby. We're in love. Love you, boo. But let's have a great day. Let's go to some of this in Portland for the people can see it. Tear gas. And to the fellas out there, you could look away when I blew my kiss. That wasn't for you. That was for the ladies. That's for the ladies. Old ladies. I like older ladies, 50 plus. You know, I need you close. Even though I'm a married man, I'm a faithful married man, but I need you close to that AARP age so I can tap into some of those finances. But I need me a sugar mama because my baby need a new bed. This is what's happening. So imagine you see this during the day, right? Like I watched the stream again last night. You see this during the day. Would you go down here at 10:30 at night after seeing this? This is why I feel that people going down there on the conservative side, the right wing, they're more agitating this bullshit because they see it's like, you know, but no, this is my city, my country. I should be able to walk the sidewalks. Why would I want to leave my house and comfort my home for this shit? Oh, let me make it. Why would I leave the comfort of my home for this? I'm already paying insurance. I'm already paying taxes. I want to be safe, bro. I had to run my content from my supposed to go to. That's absolutely wild. I think it's only, honestly, from what I'm seeing, I think it's only maybe 2 or 3 blocks in Portland, right? I don't see this as all of Portland. I think it's just downtown, maybe 2 or 3 blocks. So that's why it's like, why would I, like the same block? I've seen this enough to kind of see it, right? You have the ICE building here. And then this is where everybody's protesting outside of. You have the agents. Then you have, this is yesterday, like the other video I saw, you can see it on the channel. Buddy walked down here when he had his flag ripped. He walked down that way to park to go get, like, put the truck in, the flag in the truck. But then they had like a white tent down here. So I want to say it's really only these 2 or 3 blocks, right? Oh shit. And I'm not saying that, okay, 2 or 3 blocks, whatever, but if this is a designated protest area and they're in the protest area, why are you going down there unless you want to cause some bullshit? Why if you're not protesting? No, they don't do Batman trailer. This is Portland. And this is what they're saying, right? Now, when no bullshit. When conservatives tell black folks that it's liberal white Democrats that are feeding you bullshit about policy, these are the ones they're talking about. Respectfully, right? I'm a Democrat. Because these are the ones that are protesting, because you don't see, even though it's for people of color, right? Persons of color, immigrants. It's really the Caucasians that are speaking up the most about this in certain areas, about the injustice. But then at the same time, it ends up being a fight of saying, hey, yeah, cool. This is an issue. Yes, immigration has been an issue, but what about jobs? What about education? What about these different things? And I do feel that, respectfully, a lot of the liberals get passionate about these issues like the environment, but then they never fix the issues for the people that need to go vote and support them. My 2 cents, right? So again, here in Portland, a state where you'll see a lot of caucasity, this is what you see in the crowd. And I'm not complaining. It's just the facts of the matter, right? Listen, boy, we're gonna clear this shit out. This is all I probably get on easy, boy. Get to the easy, motherfucker. That's what they're saying. Get to the easy. Gas to the easy. See? See what's unnecessary. Like, hey, bruh came out with the flowers, bruh. He wanted to show some love. Let's go back. You seen? They came out and pushing people out of here. Out the way. Look at bro. Look at bro. This is what you're dealing with. One side has a mask on. Hey, I'm ready to bomb y'all. Get the hell up out of my face. And you have flowers ready to show me love. There is no love. I have a job to do. I have a job to do. Like that's just for them. Hold on. We got the mayor speaking. Mayor of Chicago. You know, he just had a press conference. I'm going to go back a little bit. I see he's speaking. The Attorney General just ended. In Chicago, hold on. Where's my volume at? Find the volume? Oh, no. Now, see, that's not me. That's on them. That's absolutely on them. Ain't no way. Y'all having a live press conference with no sound. Yep, y'all see it's not on me. Volume all the way up. Nobody trying to hear him anyway. We saw him earlier. Let's get back to this. All right, Mike. Hey, Jimmy. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Why don't I cry? Why don't I cry, bitch? I'm sorry, I'm gonna tell you after the movie. Yeah, that's wild. I found a better stream. Let's tap back in with the mayor and see where they at.
Governor, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm grateful for all of the elected leaders that are here, our congressional delegation, as well as our Cook County Board President, which you'll hear from shortly. But today I stand with all of our elected officials and community leaders in denouncing President Trump's declared war on Chicago and Illinois. I'm proud the city of Chicago is joining the state of Illinois in our lawsuit against the Trump administration's unlawful deployment of the National Guard in our city and in our state. I've promised that the city of Chicago will do everything in our power to protect the constitutional rights of all Chicagoans. This lawsuit is the latest demonstration of our commitment. Let me be absolutely clear. The president is not sending military troops to Chicago to keep us safe. We know this because Trump has a history of targeting Chicago. He issued a series of executive orders attempting to defund so-called sanctuary jurisdictions and sue the city over our welcoming city ordinance. A federal judge recently dismissed that lawsuit, and the courts have prevented the Trump administration from restricting the city's funding based on our local laws. Now that the president has lost those cases, he is changing tactics to send in the Guard. He has stated his intentions outright to use our neighborhoods as training grounds for our military. He told them that they are, and they must be, prioritized in order to, in his words, defending the homeland against the invasion from within in American cities run by, quote, radical left Democrats, specifically including the city of Chicago. The only radical is a president trying to deploy National Guard from across the country into our city. We do not need or want the National Guard to police our streets. We want to continue our holistic strategies and partnerships that have led to the safest summer in the city of Chicago in 60 years. Not only will a National Guard deployment make our communities less safe, but it will also have a chilling effect on economic activity in Chicago, as we have seen in other jurisdictions where the president deployed the Guard. And furthermore, deployment of the National Guard will impose costs on CPD and other city departments who will have to respond to protest activity and any issues that may arise from the deployment. This is wrong, full stop. With today's litigation, we send a message to the president. Chicago will not be used as a political prop. Chicago will not be intimidated, and we will not be silent. And to our residents, know that we are fighting for you and using every legal avenue to protect your rights, dignity, and your humanity. And lastly, I want to be clear. When we talk about protecting our democracy, we are not just speaking about the right to vote every couple of years. We are speaking about something much deeper and much more profound. We go back to the labor leader, A. Philip Randolph's definition of democracy, and he said, a community is democratic only when the humblest and weakest person can enjoy the highest civil, economic, and social rights that the biggest and most powerful possess. And that means that whether you are a billionaire or a thousandaire or a hundredaire, you deserve the exact same rights. The Constitution applies to all of our residents. This president wants to remake a country by the ultra-rich and for the ultra-rich, and he wants to use the military and his private militarized force to repress the rights of poor and working people. We prefer a government that is of, by, and for the people.
I get tired of these
speeches.
That's
what we are fighting to protect. And thank you.
I just get tired of the speeches because it's like, bruh, everybody's the orator. Everybody's a new variation of Dr. King, right? Everybody has a slave story or a struggle story to relate to this shit and call it racism and fascism and all the rest of this shit. It's like, bruh, the average motherfucker don't care. I'm sorry, the average person doesn't care to me. Because all this does what? All this does what when we said earlier, there was a 16-year-old that was walking that got shot in the finger by a drive-by. So you can't go tell me that the issues in Chicago don't need to be fixed When you go through the Chicago Sun-Times website alone, you go through just this past weekend, back to October 2nd, you probably see 17 different shootings across the city.
Robin Kelly and Danny Davis. Thank you all. For generations, our neighborhoods have been built and rebuilt by working people who stand together in hard times. We're not strangers to struggle, and we're also not people who will be intimidated. The Trump administration's authorization of National Guard troops to enter Cook County and Chicago is a dangerous and reckless abuse of power. It's an affront to local governance, a violation of trust, and an insult to residents and local law enforcement officers who are working every day to make this city safer and more just. Slamming human beings to the ground, dragging them in the street.
Hey, great.
This is not immigration enforcement. It's intimidation. It's fear tactics. It's an illegal abuse of power dressed up as law and order. The truth is that our local leaders, our local police, our community organizations, and our residents have been working for years to reimagine what safety means. It's about building trust, investing in prevention, and healing the wounds that have festered far too long.
Me and my wife haven't ate today. Ain't that crazy?
We're working to replace fear with fairness. And this administration would rather send troops than send real help. We know what this looks like. Deploying the National Guard to Chicago sends a chilling message. It tells us that standing up to the Trump administration is something to be crushed, not heard. That local voices do not matter. The federal government decides to flex its power. This is not democracy. It's authoritarianism, plain and simple. I stand with Governor Pritzker, Attorney General Raoul, Mayor Johnson, and every local leader who rejects this federal overreach. Cook County will continue to stand firm in defense of our residents and our democratic values. Cook County will be filing an amicus brief in full support of the state of Illinois' lawsuit to block the Trump administration from deploying federalized National Guard troops in our communities. The federal government has been extremely clear that they're taking this action not to assist Illinois and local officials, but to use Chicago as a training ground for the military to fight what they dub the war from within. This is direct punishment of state and local governments' exercise of their sovereign right to enact constitutional laws and ordinances. We believe in accountability. We believe in community solutions. And we believe that local problems are best solved by local people. We are a proud, diverse, and resilient county. We fought for decades to build a government rooted in equity and inclusion. And we will not allow our efforts to be undermined by a federal government that chooses confrontation over collaboration.
And you know what, I'm gonna end this one here only because not the stream, just in this press conference, because honestly, there's nothing that can come from this, right? It's Democrats versus Trump, and the same talking points they've been spewing for the past couple months, and I think people are overwhelmingly tired of it, right? And I'm just closing down some of the other windows in the back. Yeah, I'm using Google Trends. Who doesn't? But going to go back to the Senate floor, we have some members speaking, not all in a row, but at least saying what's being said on the floor. You feel me? Because there's a government shutdown that's happening. Day 6. Trump says he wants it signed by midnight tonight. And they're going to vote sometime around 6, hopefully. My wife says she may do pick up today, so we may be streaming all the way to the shutdown tonight. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to see. If we're still here, would you still be tapped in with midnight for the stream? The only thing I really got to do is feed my son around 6:30. My bad, Joe.
Democrats think they're gaining from all of this. I guess they're getting points from the far left interest groups that they've been coordinating their shutdown strategy with. But I highly doubt that they're earning a lot of points with everyday, hardworking Americans, like the voters that they lost in the last election. Mr. President, a Reuters headline from Thursday noted, and I quote, U.S. government shutdown threatens food aid program for low-income Americans. Let me just read that again, Mr. President. U.S. government shutdown threatens food aid program for low-income Americans. The article noted that while the Trump Agriculture Department is doing its best to continue administering the Special Supplemental Nutrition Program for Women, Infants, and Children, more commonly known as WIC, the program is, quote, critically low on funds. And it won't get new funds until Democrats agree to reopen the government. Mr. President, Democrats own this. They own any lapse in funding for critical food aid programs, just as they own every other negative effect of the shutdown. Because let's remember, Mr. President, the only reason the government is shut down is because Democrats refuse to accept a clean, nonpartisan funding extension. A clean, nonpartisan funding extension. We didn't ask Democrats to swallow any new Republican policies. We didn't ask them to swallow any partisan riders. We simply asked them to agree to a clean, nonpartisan bill. The same kind of bill, Mr. President, I might add, that they voted for 13 times during the Biden administration. The Democrats said no. And I should note, Mr. President, that you don't have to take my word for it on the facts of the bill. Republicans aren't the only ones pointing out that this is a clean CR. Here's what the president of the Teamsters Union had to say the other day, and I quote, "A shutdown will hurt working people, period. Senators should pass the House-passed clean, short-term funding bill," end quote. Senators should pass the House-passed clean, short-term funding bill, end quote. Again, that from the president of the Teamsters Union. Or you could take the word of a mainstream journalist who recently noted, and I quote, "In a vacuum, this CR would get almost every Democrat vote." It just would. This is a clean CR that has no partisan riders, extends a bunch of programs that are Democrat priorities. It's clean. It's clean, Mr. President. So to summarize, Democrats have shut down the government because they refuse to accept a clean, nonpartisan bill. And why are they refusing to accept it? After all, as I mentioned, they supported similar bills 13 times during the Biden administration. The reason that they refuse to accept it is that Democrats still cannot get over the fact that the American people elected President Trump. And when their far left base demanded a showdown with the president, Democrats fell in line. And now it's the American people who are suffering the consequences. I quote again, U.S. government shutdown threatens food aid program for low-income Americans. Threatens food aid program for low-income Americans. Mr. President, 3 Democrats have rejected their party's shutdown politics and voted with Republicans to reopen the government. All Democrats will get another chance to vote to reopen the government later today. And for the sake of the American people, I hope at least a few more Democrats will join us to pass this clean, nonpartisan CR and let the Senate get back to work. Mr. President?
It's all nonsense,
I move to proceed to executive session to consider calendar number 459.
Questions on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The motion is agreed to. Mr. Clerk will report the nomination.
All right. Going to the next one. So while you working, when you driving, doing your everyday life, guess what? These congressional members are speaking on some shit that could impact your life.
Mr. President. So, Mr. President, today is the sixth day of Donald Trump's government shutdown. Senate Democrats returned to Washington ready to negotiate. We're ready to work with Republicans to reopen the government and end the health care crisis that faces tens of millions of Americans. But it takes two sides to have a negotiation. We need the Senate Republicans and the House Republicans and the President to come to the table. And meanwhile, Donald Trump and Speaker Johnson seem to be on another planet. Instead of trying to solve this shutdown crisis, Donald Trump spent the weekend golfing and posting memes and deep fakes on the internet. He seems to think this shutdown is some big joke. He's wrong. People will lose their paychecks. Seniors will see Social Security support services slow down. There will be chaos for travelers. This shutdown is all on Donald Trump's shoulders, and Americans agree, according to the polls. Poll after poll after poll, from CBS to the Washington Post to Marist to Morning Consult and many others, consistently show that the public sees the president as most responsible for the shutdown. He's in charge. His party holds majorities across the government. So Americans naturally and correctly believe the burden is on him to fix this mess. Speaker Johnson, meanwhile, has canceled yet another week of session for the House. Why? Because the Speaker knows House Republicans are bitterly divided on health care. He knows a large chunk of his conference doesn't want to fix people's premiums at all. The right-wing MAGA folks. Meanwhile, some of his less extreme members feel a necessity to fix this mess. The Speaker knows these divisions in his conference are serious and deep. So what does the Speaker do with these divisions in his conference, almost irreconcilable? He ducks. He chooses the politically expedient way out. He keeps the Congress out of session for weeks at a time, passes to the Senate a partisan bill with no Democratic input. That's not leadership. That's derelict. Even today, the Speaker said that we can deal with the ACA crisis sometime later. He said, wait, kick the can down the road, to postpone any negotiation until the very last minute. Speaker Johnson, I ask him the question, why the wait? Why not solve this crisis now? If you're not ready to solve it now, how do we know you're going to solve it 45 days from now?
Right.
When you won't even do it now, and the same reasons that hold you back now will exist then. Insurers are waiting around to set rates for next year. They're doing it right now, not 3 months from now. Delay has always been Speaker Johnson's MO. Speaker Johnson has survived by kicking the can down the road on every major issue under his speakership, promising everyone that the thing they wanted is just around the corner. He did it repeatedly with the Freedom Caucus, for instance. And he's doing the same thing now with health care. If Speaker Johnson is serious about lowering costs and protecting the health care of the American people, why wait? Most of America, when Johnson says later, they know he means never. Democrats want to deal with the health care problem now. A recent poll by KFF shows that 80% of Americans want to extend the ACA tax credits, including 60% of MAGA Republicans. That's where the people are. A CBS poll also found that 75% of Americans don't think the administration is focused enough on lowering costs. Well, lowering health care premiums would be one of the very best ways to lower costs, because those costs are going through the roof. Many estimates show the average American would pay $1,000 more for health care. Listen to this. If you're a couple, 55-year-old couple who makes $80,000 a year, your premiums could go up $25,000 a year. How is anyone going to deal with that issue? Why is Johnson waiting? But yet again, Speaker Johnson and MAGA Republicans continue to lie and change the subject. Donald Trump does the same thing. The Speaker today once again lied that Democrats' proposal would provide health care benefits to undocumented immigrants. He even cited a page number and section within our proposal he says supposedly proves the point. Of course our proposal doesn't say that. As the Sunday show talk commentators Johnson sent down with this weekend pointed out, and he had no real rebuttal, saying that Democrats' proposal provides health insurance to undocumented immigrants is plain and simple, a blatant lie. It was a lie yesterday, it's a lie today, it'll be a lie tomorrow. Nothing in our proposal, not even the page the Speaker keeps citing as changes that, as fact checkers have repeatedly pointed out, independent fact checkers, not Democrats, not Republicans, just experts. Undocumented immigrants are not eligible for Medicaid, Medicare, or ACA credits under current law or under the Democratic continuing resolution proposal. It's been the law for decades. Instead, here's what Democrats want to do. We want to reverse the devastating cuts to American health care that Republicans passed in their big, ugly bill. We want to extend the ACA tax credits that lower costs for eligible Americans. These are the plain facts. But Speaker Johnson and Republicans don't want to deal with the facts. They don't want to talk about health care because they know the American people are appalled by their health care policies. So instead, they lie, change the subject. And Speaker Johnson and the House Republicans would rather duck out of town than come into session and do their jobs. You know, when Leader Jeffries and I met with the President, he, of all people, seemed at least to somewhat appreciate the immense harm of letting these ACA credits expire. Of course, we had to walk the President through it first because it seemed he had no clue of the crisis before our meeting. But frankly, what should happen now is this. The President should lean on Speaker Johnson to relent on his extreme refusal to negotiate. It's not a sustainable position for the Speaker to literally shut the entire House down and not do anything to solve this crisis.
To my conservative friends that are out there, and I apologize for making y'all listen to this boring bullshit, but it's politics, right? It's my career. I love it a little bit. But you see why Jasmine Crockett's needed? I'm not saying she's effective. I'm not saying it's right. But do you see how I would rather listen to her debate and argue all fucking day before I listen to this, or the Attorney General from Illinois? You have to, excuse me, didn't mean to burp in your face like that. Do it to my wife and pull it out the side. Pause. Another pause. It's a simple fact of it's boring. Nobody wants to listen to this. I would rather listen to Jasmine Crockett, not Cory Booker, because Cory Booker is very performative. Hakeem Jeffries just like to talk with his hands, does the same shit, right? But I would rather listen to Jasmine, respectfully, the Congresswoman, because I know at least she's going to get both sides engaged. She's going to call shit out for what it is. Now, is she teaching people everyday shit? Probably not outside of what the Republicans and Trump are doing, but that's better than this shit. This worked in the 90s when nobody watched C-SPAN. Now people are making whole YouTube channels, me, and commentary around this, and they're like, you know what? Why the fuck are we listening to these old people talk about the nonsense? Because I'm quite sure if you go back to the 90s, you can probably catch this same senator, this same person, career politician, saying the exact opposite of what he's saying today regarding immigration, regarding whatever the fuck the issue is that Republicans may support. This is a game that people play. And I get tired of it. Even working it gets tiresome. It's like, damn, y'all really believe this shit? Like, nah. Because even in Florida, respectfully, right? We have 120 members in the House, 40 in the Senate, 160 members and the governor, right? It gets down to it that even those 120 or those 40 that are elected, they don't really have any juice or power. Like, you know, I'm just up here, right? There may be 5 or 10 people that really have any juice in the entire process. So imagine in Congress what it really is. Imagine the fact of you see the same argument, and we got to go back to the notes and have people write the same talking points of the reverse based on who the fuck is in power. And who loses? The American people. We lose. We end up making it a race war. Why everything black people say about race? Why everything white people say is about criminalizing black people? Why the Asian people say nothing? And why are we deporting Hispanic people? It's all divisive against us while these people sit here and get rich and stay rich. You can go through the bullshit for what it is. You can talk about the Supreme Court cases that are coming up that are going to impact the elections, especially as I said, I did a little research, the NAACP of South Carolina versus the president of the South Carolina State Senate, and how that may have implication on racial gerrymandering versus political gerrymandering, because they stripped back the Civil Rights Act so much that you can politically gerrymander stuff. They said that's not a problem. If you're a Republican, you want to draw districts in your favor, political gerrymandering, that's fine. But racial gerrymandering is a problem. They split Charleston County, Charleston, South Carolina, the former home of slave ships and the economic cotton boom in America, right? Charleston helped lead a lot of lives and souls through that port. But their Supreme Court being there, they are going to debate the sanctity of voting rights going forward. And if Chuck Schumer and the rest of these Democrats that are 70 plus 80 years old, right, are leading the charge to help teach you, guess what? They're not going to teach you, and they haven't. They haven't. Because even for a fact of how Republicans and conservatives have stripped back every section that they want to of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act, 1964. These old-time Democrats, old Blue Dog Democrats, or the old, Klansman Democrats, however they want to label them, they're the problem. Old man Chuck needs to retire. I think, respectfully, I'm not ageist. I do think that you need some kind of continuity in the process, but you also need a continuity of getting the fuck out of the way. Because right now, there's a generation of all they're going to do is die in these positions. Dixiecrats, yes. All they're going to do is die in these positions. And how does that help the American people? We see how when Ruth Bader Ginsburg died on the Supreme Court, how did that help America? Instead of retiring and having the ability to be appointed by a Democratic president, because I saw something yesterday that said basically that the courts are now more who appointed, a Democrat appoint you or a Republican appoint you, versus the collegiality of the Supreme Court. We are in, not the end of days, I know I'm rambling a bit here. We're in a phase of people just don't give a fuck anymore. Government been shut down 6 days. People who are surviving will be like, okay, they can shut this shit down for 30. I don't give a shit. The people that are hurt, they're the ones. People that are surviving on SNAP and WIC. Not to say it, stereotyping. But those people in those trailer parks that are on WIC, that are on food stamps, SNAP, women and children, WIC. They're the ones that are going to be feeling this. The people that have been at TSA or doing these jobs at federal contracts say, hey, you know what? I have some sick days I need to call in until y'all pay me. Hopefully y'all be able to pay me. Like it's a sad day when all we do is get played by the politics of Americans. Sorry, the politics of America by these egotistical ass politicians. Who, unless they already had wealth to build their own, have never walked a day in your shoes. They want to pass policies that are going to impact you. That's a crazy shit.
Crisis. Again, why wait?
Thank y'all for tapping in.
Democrats are ready to solve this now. We urge Donald Trump to get Speaker Johnson and our Republican colleagues to come to the table with Senator Jeffries and I, negotiate and address this problem and fix it once and for all. I yield the floor.
Yeah, there needs to be a part of why are we listening to these old ass people? There's a common disconnect. Are you teaching your grandparents AI? Are you teaching your parents AI how to use your phone? I'm quite sure a lot of people may have taught their parents how to use their damn iPhone or even Samsung, right? Nike, Reebok, it's all the same. If you can't work your damn phone, or you look like you could be in geriatric care, or let me just go back so we can see Chuck Schumer. It can come. Why are you even serving? Like you served enough. Check this out. You served enough for your wife to be fine, for your grandkids to be fine, for your kids to be fine. there's enough that you've done where your kids and grandkids can probably run to replace you. Why not the fuck retire and enjoy the rest of your days? God did not intend you. Well, I can't say. I apologize. I can't speak for the Lord. But people, respectfully, people look at this and be like, do you want to enjoy the rest of your life? You want to chase titles? If I was in that position and God gave me that, you know what, I'll just enjoy the rest of my days and not try to be beholden to the people in the community that's going to forget about you 3 months, 3 days, 6 hours after you die. Let's get to the next one.
Jordy Whip.
Thank you, Mr. President.
I'm hungry as shit today, y'all,
It's very
too.
obvious that Democrats are losing the Schumer shutdown. Even their media allies are turning against them. Here's an editorial from today's Washington Post. The headline is, "The Shutdown Conversation No One Wants." The Washington Post editorial board today wrote this, quote, "Democrats have demanded that Republicans agree to extend the COVID-era insurance subsidies without proposing any way to pay for it." They go on to say the Congressional Budget Office estimates that it would cost $350 billion over the next decade. Now that's the Washington Post talking, not Republicans. So it's no surprise that Democrats are avoiding this conversation. Obamacare is broken, Obamacare is a failure, and now Democrats are holding the American people hostage to prop it up. The Biden bonus COVID payments are a bait and switch. Democrats created them in 2021. They did it as a temporary COVID program. They extended them temporarily to 2022. They set an end date from this year when they extended them once again. Now these same Democrats are demanding that they become permanent at a cost of $350 billion. It's unacceptable. This is a system that is riddled with waste, with fraud, abuse, and corruption. Big insurance companies are rewarded with direct payments from the federal government to the insurance companies. Hardworking taxpayers are left holding the bill. Many of these policies, there are no premiums, no deductibles, no income limit, no accountability. Even families making $500,000 a year, they still qualify for these Biden bonus COVID payments. This is reckless, permanent new spending. The American people can't afford it. American people know it. And even the Washington Post knows it and has reported on it today. Democrats lost the election, they've lost their media allies, and now they have lost the argument. Mr. President, on a related matter, here we are, day 6 of the Schumer shutdown. Senate Democrats have now voted 4 separate times to keep our government closed. Radical Democrats are shutting down the government with an outlandish list of demands, and you've seen them, Mr. President. Included in that list is giving free health care to illegal immigrants.
Uh-oh.
When the interests of Americans and illegal
Ain't having
immigrants
that, y'all.
collide,
No, they ain't having that.
Democrats always seek to benefit the latter at the expense of the former. Think back to the last Democrat primary for president back in June of 2019 when they were having a big debate on live television. There were so many candidates that they actually had to do it 2 separate nights to get them all on the stage. Every running candidate for president was asked in that one debate if their platform would give free health care to illegal immigrants.
And every single Democrat said they would do it. Every single one. Then it really came from a fact of, again, I'm a first-generation American, right? I don't want to ever make it seem as if I'm coming from a greater than thou perspective. But the main premise of it is, you have some Americans who sit back and say, you know what, I don't want my taxpayer dollars going towards this. Just like I don't want my taxpayer dollars going towards somebody who's sitting at home getting food stamps and WIC and sitting at home playing PlayStation and smoking weed all day. Respectfully, collectively. Some people have principles on what they want their government to do. And when all the Democrats said they would come out and support it, now it's hard to unchange that position. Because if you go back and say you wouldn't do it, guess what? When you were trying to win, and this is what it is, right? Respectfully. Democrats realize that they lost the Cuban, Puerto Rican, and some of the other Hispanic voting blocs, right? So they're trying to appease to the Venezuelans, to the Argentinians, to Portuguese and other people, Spaniards across the world regarding this. Because they're thinking that, okay, if we come in and we support this, that all of a sudden, when these immigrants come over, they get citizenship, they're going to vote Democratic. I'm not telling you bullshit. I'm telling you the actual factual strategy. This is the same strategy they used to go engage people to go vote, right? Say, hey, you know what? We're going to register somebody in 2012. We're not going to talk to them in 2014, 2016, 2018, 2020, 2020. But guess what? I have a feeling they're going to come back in 2026, right? This is exactly how Democrats operate and why they're behind the 8 ball. So now you get to a point of saying, okay, cool. As a platform, you said you're going to support illegal immigration. Cool. In Kansas, Iowa, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, other places, they said, you know what? Not just the rednecks, some of the black folks too, some of the Hispanic folks too, some of the other first generations here, like, no, I don't support that. I'll tell you like a mentor told me one time. Nobody did that shit for me, so why would I do it for you? Right? No, they did. They did say that, DJ. And if we want to get there, if you want me to pull it up from that debate, Democratic debate regarding immigrants getting health care, it was literally there today. Hold on. People don't believe it. Because this is the problem, right? This is the problem with the liberals. And I don't have a problem with the liberals, but this is the problem with the liberals. They have selective fucking amnesia. They have selective fucking amnesia, right?
We've been talking tonight about these government health care plans that you've proposed in one form or another. This is a show of hands question, and hold them up for a moment so people can see. Raise your hand if your government plan would provide coverage for undocumented immigrants.
Oh, okay, I'm lying. Okay, I'm making shit up. Okay, thank you for, I'm gonna go back. Hold on, let's go back, because I need my liberals, my Democrats to understand this is how the chess move fucking happen, okay? This is how the chess move fucking happen. And while you're sitting here, oh, this never happened, that never happened, you want to believe the bullshit. Guess what? You're on my stream. I'm trying to feed you the real. Because I'm at least one of the ones that are actually in the building when they're actually making the laws. I'm a lobbyist, government affairs professional and expert. And I'm telling you, for someone who's actually ran congressional campaigns successfully to get people elected to the United States House of Representatives, somebody who's helped elect members to our Florida State House of Representatives and the Senate and school boards and sheriff's offices and other elected positions across this country. I'm telling you the facts. I'm not giving you bullshit. Let's watch it again.
We've been talking tonight about these government health care plans that you've proposed in one form or another. This is a show of hands question, and hold them up for a moment so people can see. Raise your hand if your government plan would provide coverage for undocumented immigrants.
Let's show of hands. We got my man over here. He's a millionaire. I think that's Pete Buttigieg, Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, hand held high, Kamala Harris, and every other Democrat on stage. You tell me. You said I'm a liar. This is how the Republicans are winning. This is how it plays out into the government shutdown today. It's not a separate issue. It's the same. This is what the Republicans are saying, right? It's not a separate issue because Republicans are saying that the narrative they're putting out is, hey, you want to give health care to undocumented immigrants. And Democrats are now saying, no, we don't. But then they're going back to this. I don't give a fuck when it was, but did the position change? That's the fact of it. What you're not shy, I get it. The position didn't change. The position didn't change until you go back to maybe the early 90s. When your boy Chuck Schumer had brown hair. And he was talking about illegal immigrants. Do I need to find that video too? What I'm trying to tell you is this. I've been around 40 years. I've seen the topsy-turvy shit go back and forth. That's all I'm saying. They're going to use this as an issue to make conservatives say, you know what, hey, shit, You know what? Hey, this is what it is. He's intentionally muddying. Hold on. Who's lying? Who's lying? Did this not happen? Is this AI? Tell me, is this not happening? Is this AI? Come on, is Congress not all to do this? Does Congress not flip-flop the issue? How does this clip have no relevance when the man was just on the floor saying the same shit? Aren't you, do you not pay attention? Do we need to go back? Hold on. Do we need to go back? Where's the video at? Listen to what the man is saying.
Primary for president back in June of 2019 when they were having a big debate on live television. There were so many candidates that they actually had to do it 2 separate nights to get them all on the stage. Every running candidate for president was asked in that one debate if their platform would give free health care to illegal immigrants. Every single Democrat candidate on the debate stage that night raised their hand and said yes.
That is what they're saying. So that is, hold on, that's this. How does it relate? That is their argument. You may feel it doesn't relate. Cool, I get you. But there's some little girl in Iowa in the trailer park right now. There's some little girl in Kansas. There's some little girl in Tennessee. Sorry, not little girl. There's some little boy. There's a family that's going to sit down at the dinner table tonight. Excuse me, right? And they're going to talk about this. They're going to say, Mommy, what's going on in Chicago? They raise these people and put them in. And you know what? The problem is, baby, they want to take our money, take bread out of your pocket, and take my money that I'm paying the government and give it to illegal immigrants, baby. And she's going to believe that. And they're going to have this to go back to, bro. What are we talking about? I'm not saying it's right. This is their argument. So now how do Democrats now collectively and respectfully have a counter argument when you have the former president, Joe Biden, the former vice president, Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg up here. This guy didn't, I think he had a position in the cabinet. Can't remember his name either, right? Bernie Sanders, hand held high. Every Democrat face value wise is here except Jasmine Crockett. Jasmine Crockett didn't run for president. All I'm saying is this is the Republican argument. And Democrats don't have a counter argument because Republicans have now squared them to a point of saying, regardless of what you put forward, regardless of what you do, you want to give our taxpayer dollars and healthcare money to illegal immigrants. And it can be factual, it can be false. That's the narrative. And Democrats, leadership in the Democratic Party is not combating that narrative. So what do you expect to do? Come on, what are we talking about? Appreciate y'all time.
Every one of them promised to give free health care to illegal immigrants. Senator Bernie Sanders was on the stage that night. He raised his hand. Senator Kristen Gillibrand of New York was on the stage that night. She raised her hand. Yes, free health care to illegal immigrants. Those are current members of the United States Senate who voted to shut the government down. They voted 4 times in the last 6 days. And it's more than talk. When Democrats get power, it's exactly what they're going to do. Look at California. In 2024, Governor Gavin Newsom expanded state-sponsored health care to illegal immigrants.
All right, hold on, J-Lab. How about this, J-Lab? J-Lab, how about this? Hold on.
Fighting from this.
How about I invite you up to the stream to say your point, J-Lab? Would you like that? You can hop in my Discord. I will drop a link, and you can join this stream straight from your phone right now, J-Lab. Let me know in the chat if you'll be willing to make it happen, right? Because if you want to have this debate, we can have a sensible debate, but let me know, right? Because at the end of the day, I think you're making an argument for the greater shutdown when their argument is a simple fact of, hey, 2019, y'all said this, and this is what we're going to go by. We're not going to go by anything more recent than that. And if you can't get with the fact of this is politics, it's petty, and it's all talking points, then what are we fucking talking about? This is politics, baby. What are we saying? You could be talking about Trump giving money to South African American. You know what, J-Lab? Earlier we were talking about that. How about that? Because your boy Mitch McConnell was on here earlier talking about the farmers. So J-Lab, you actually happen to be late to that. Okay? I appreciate you tapping in.
1 year later, the Los Angeles Times reported that by doing this, costs had tripled. There was a headline dated March 13th of this year. It says, cost of undocumented health care in California is billions over estimates. They go on to say, pressuring Democrats to consider cuts. Instead of $3 billion a year, in the California health care system costs taxpayers $9.5 billion by providing health care to illegal immigrants. California financed its health care for illegal immigrants through a money laundering scheme aimed at the federal government.
J-Lap, you want that Discord link? Because I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back to the farmers piece. So I want you to make sure you tap on for that. But J-Lap, if you're gonna get in, if you're gonna join in the conversation, I'd love to have you on Discord and invite you up to the stream. He didn't agree to my request. What was your request, J-Lap? I must have missed it in the chat. What was your request? I'll put Mitch McConnell back up and talk about farmers.
The state's Medicaid payments from the federal government directly to the state of California. This is money vacuumed away from hardworking Americans and from the vulnerable people in this country, our friends and neighbors who need Medicaid the most. What California do with it? They use it for illegal immigrants, not for U.S. citizens.
J-Lap, the Discord's right there, baby.
President Joe Biden and the Democrats, they went even further. Apparently they weren't liberal enough in doing that. Joe Biden created multiple illegal parole programs when he was president. It was a blatant attempt at amnesty by the sleight of hand. Parole is supposed to be rare, it's supposed to be temporary, and it's supposed to be case by case. And Mr. President, I'm talking about the flood of illegal immigrants that have come into this country across our southern border. People saw them on television. Joe Biden abused presidential parole authority and turned our law on its head. Democrats made non-citizens who were paroled eligible for free health care. Look no further than the illegal immigrant who murdered 22-year-old nursing student Laken Riley in Georgia. He crossed the border illegally in 2022. The Biden administration released him into our country instead of removing him. The Biden administration paroled him for what they claimed were, quote, urgent humanitarian reasons of significant public benefit.
We got 2 minutes. We're going to get back to Mitch McConnell with the farmers, just for my boy J-Lap.
Joe Biden made Laken Riley's killer eligible for taxpayer-funded health care. Democrats even promised free health care as an enticement to attract illegal immigrants to our southern border. It was a magnet. Well, Democrats have now shut down the government. Why? To defend a system where Laken Riley's killer can get taxpayer-funded free health care. That's who they are.
That's the narrative they're spinning, bro. And it's not right. It's politics. Because someone, again, some family in a trailer park, some family in a double wide, some family in a 5,000 square foot home is going to sit down for dinner tonight. And they're going to talk about these issues. And the child's going to ask. And they'll be like, you know what? Yeah, they're giving it away. And they give it these taxpayer dollars away and healthcare away to Laken Riley's killer. That's the narrative that they're playing. This is a nasty tangle web that they weave with politics. This shit is nasty. But it's life. What are we talking about? What do you really expect? You have to fight back petty. And I think that the issue is, respectfully, collectively, Democrats want to play nice hardball. Pause. No, you got to get in the mud with these trolls.
That's their beliefs. That's their commitment, not to the American people, but to the illegal immigrants. Well, Republicans closed the loophole, Mr. President. Our working families' tax cuts put in place strong eligibility.
Hey, Mr. Man from Russia.
So that person can't qualify anymore, or anyone like them. It also ended the gimmicks that allowed California to fund health care for illegal immigrants through higher federal Medicaid payments, the way they siphon money from the federal government into California to pay for illegal immigrants. Meanwhile, what we've seen is President Trump and Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem rightfully terminated all of these Joe Biden categorical parole programs.
My man, USMC Reese, Marine Corps. Hey, thank you for your service again. Hey, thanks for tapping in. You're absolutely right. Absolutely right.
We never let him in the first place. Now we have terminated him. And the Supreme Court was called into play in an action here. The Supreme Court upheld this decision by the Trump administration after several rounds of left.
Who is Rosie talking to?
President Trump is securing our border. He's putting American citizens first, not illegal immigrants. That's the difference between our parties. Democrats want to undo all of that. That's why they're holding the nation hostage by shutting down the government. That's what this fight is all about. Let's be clear. By shutting down the government, Democrats are putting illegal immigrants ahead of American citizens, ahead of our veterans, ahead of our military, ahead of our seniors, ahead of our children. It is reckless, it's radical, and it is wrong. It's time for it to end. So today, Mr. President, the Senate's going to vote for a fifth time on our bipartisan continuing resolution.
Nothing changed in the first
to
time.
reopen government. It passed the House with bipartisan support. The Senate this evening will have a simple choice once again. Vote to reopen the government and put America first and Americans first, or vote with Senator Schumer to put illegal immigrants ahead of the American people.
I'm going to stop that there for a second. We're going to go back to Mitch McConnell, right? Because my man he came in here talking about all this stuff about Iowa. But he calmed down the second I told him to join the Discord. He could get on here and debate. And that, honestly, that's for everybody, right? I told myself once we hit 7,000 subscribers, I'm going to open up my Discord and honestly say, you know what? If we want to have open dialogue, conversation, debate, I would love to, right? Republican, Democrat, whoever. I would love to have a conversation. We're going to be respectful. Let's try not to be racist, right? Let's not trying to be stereotypical about some certain things, but let's have a constructive dialogue and conversation. Be respectful on my platform, right? So I dropped the link in the chat. If you want to join Discord, you can. I'm still setting it up, so help me join, be general about it. I'd love to at least share some member-specific content there. Maybe, every day what I'm thinking about, pushing some content out, and actually some news clippings that I'm having as well. We're going to get to Iowa, right? But I want to show something from 1996 of Chuck Schumer here about immigration, right? And as you can see, my man had a lot more hair back in the day. Let me make sure y'all can see this right. Yeah, my man had a lot more hair back in the day. So he's been in Congress the whole damn time by this argument. But let's hear, I could be wrong here. Let's hear what Chuck Schumer had to say in 1996 regarding immigration versus today. Okay, let's see what they have to say. Oh, fucked up. We're going back.
I thank the gentleman, salute him for his work on this, rise in support of the amendment. First of all, Social Security card is used from one end of America to the other as an identification card right now. Who are we kidding? If you want to pass a law and says it shouldn't be, I would ask the chairman and the distinguished minority member of the Social Security committee to pass that law, but let's admit the truth. Everywhere people go, they're asked for a Social Security card. In fact, one way to prove you're a bona fide person who can have a job is to ask for a driver's license and a Social Security card. This is an anti-fraud amendment. All over where we go, people say, well, why can't you stop illegal immigrants or others from coming here? And the number one answer we give our constituents is when they come here, they can get jobs, get benefits against the law because of fraud. And here, the gentleman from Florida has put together the most effective anti-fraud measure we can find without it changing the actions of the government one bit. And we find all this opposition. Ladies and gentlemen of this chamber, what I worry about is that this bill, which started out with good intentions, whether you agree with it or disagree with it, is going to end up being the same kind of thing that the public gets angry with us on. We say we're doing something, and we do nothing. Because every time someone makes a rational and small proposal to get something done, people say, well, what about this hypothetical, that hypothetical, etc. I urge support of this amendment. If you believe you want to stop fraud in immigration, you have no choice but to support this amendment.
I'm not making an argument for his argument. Right? I'll say that right now. I'm not going to make an argument for his argument. I'm just sharing what he says. Because my opinion is, again, depending on who's in leadership, 1996, I believe the Republicans took over leadership in the House or the Senate. Don't quote me, but I know one of them happened around the Monica Lewinsky scandal, right? I was only maybe 11 years old at the time, showing my age. But let's see what Chuck Schumer had to say in 2009 about illegal immigration.
Must create a system that converts the current flow of primarily low-skilled illegal immigrants into the United States into a more manageable and controlled flow of legal immigrants who can be absorbed by our economy. Let me elaborate. The first of these 7 principles is that illegal immigration is wrong, plain and simple. Until the American people are convinced that we will stop future flows of illegal immigration, we will make no progress on dealing with the millions of illegal immigrants who are here now and on rationalizing our system of legal immigration. It's plain and simple and unavoidable.
I understand that, Boris.
When we use phrases like undocumented workers, we convey a message to the American people that their government is not serious about combating illegal immigration, which the American people overwhelmingly oppose. If you don't think it's illegal, you're not going to say it. I think it is illegal and wrong, and we have to change it. Above all else, the American people want their government to be serious about protecting the public, enforcing the rule of law, and creating a rational system of legal immigration that will proactively fit our needs rather than reactively responding to future waves of illegal immigration. People who enter the United States without our permission are illegal aliens, and illegal aliens should not be treated the same as people who entered the U.S. legally. To the advocates for strong, fair, effective, comprehensive immigration reform, and I'm certainly one, I say to you that the American people will never accept immigration reform unless they truly believe that their government is committed to ending future illegal immigration, and any successful comprehensive immigration reform bill must recognize this fact.
All I'm saying is this, y'all. All I'm saying is this, and I got to get off to get something to eat. My wife coming home. I thought I was going to midnight, and I got to eat them a little bit. But all I'm saying is these positions are convenient. The legal immigrant has been a convenient conversation for every single one of the Democratic candidates and the Republican candidates. Now Trump is taking some action on it. But remember, when Haitian immigrants were at the Texas border, they were getting beat by Democratic Border Patrol agents under President Biden and Kamala Harris. This is an issue that I feel Democrats have lost some ground on only because it's only a convenient conversation when they're on the losing end. Respectfully. That's it. Let's get back to Chuck. Is it Grassley? Chuck Grassley? Yeah, I said the wrong one earlier. Mitch McConnell, Chuck Grassley. I mixed up names. You know, all old Caucasian motherfuckers in Congress. They all look the same. No, they don't. But y'all get it. Thank y'all again for tapping in. We're going to listen to this little farm piece. Is old boy still here? Because I don't want to watch this again if I don't have to. Right? Jay Bud, whatever, you were talking about crickets in the chat. Are you still here? Because we talked about the farmers already. Is he still here? Kim? Time? Baby Kim? I don't think he's here. Because I'm about to move forward, honestly. I'm about to move forward and log off. How about that? But we can go back to the farmers if you want to talk about the Iowa farmers, because he came here thinking that we didn't talk about them. We already did. Play it. Play it. Let me go back to the farmers then. Okay, we'll go back to the farmers. Go back to the farmers. Appreciate y'all keeping me going.
Mr. President.
Senator from Iowa.
There's a not so perfect storm brewing for farmers in my state of Iowa and agricultural states generally. Many factors are coming together and all at once, like low grain prices, high input costs, consolidation in the industry, and uncertainty from trade tariffs. It's beginning to look more and more like the 1980s to me. One thing that concerns me is the lowering of land values in Iowa. Land value has gone down 3% since last year, and down
And are putting it out.
5.4% since the same time.
Hold on, Trump live in the White House.
And they don't seem to care about it, but they do care. I believe that Pritzker and this mayor of Chicago that like to say about they don't have it under control. Not only is it not under control, it's the opposite.
Uh-oh.
And I believe they're afraid, they're scared for their lives. I believe that the Portland people are scared. You look at what's happened with Portland over the years, it's a burning hellhole. And then you have a judge that lost her way, that tries to pretend that like there's no problem. Actually, she's not even saying that. There's a huge problem in Portland. I'll tell you what the problem is, crime. Okay, crime. There's a huge problem in Chicago. It's called crime. And we want to put out the crime, and they want to inflame the crime. And why they want to, I don't know. But it could be that Pritzker is scared for his life. Yeah.
You appointed that judge on the UN. Do you have an update on the investigation into what happened to you at the UN last month? And also, what's your message to Americans who are concerned about your and your family's safety as you're very out in public attending?
Yeah, I am out there. There's no question about it. Well, at the UN, we had a problem with the teleprompter. We had another problem that nobody has actually talked about. The people in the room didn't hear my speech. Did you know that? The people in the room, they didn't have any loudspeakers, and they didn't hear my speech. And I thought I made a really good speech. I mean, considering I didn't have the use of teleprompter, which is unusual. But I made a speech. I could have walked off the stage. I guess most people, Doug, I think most people would have just said, we'll see you in about a half an hour, right? But, you know, they obviously turned off I think they turned off the teleprompter, but there was a reason that it didn't work. I actually know the reason. They didn't let the teleprompter person into the room, okay, which is essentially the same thing. So I made a speech. It turned out to be a very good speech, got good reviews. I went out to the audience after the speech. I saw my wife. I said, how good was that speech? Was that unbelievable or what? She said, I didn't hear a word you said. I said, what do you mean? She was sitting in the I said, what do you mean? She said, you couldn't hear anything that you said.
Oh, that's funny.
The speakers were turned on. So I think that's pretty bad stuff, right? You know, especially since we support most of the United Nations. And yet I still want to keep it in New York, because I think the United Nations has tremendous potential. If properly run, the United States has tremendous potential. But think of this. I settled 7 wars. I never spoke to the United Nations about it, not one of them. You look at, and those were wars that were raging a long time, and in many cases. And I settled 7. I never heard from the United. They didn't help me. They should be able to settle the wars. I shouldn't have to be settling the wars. Yeah, please.
Yeah, last week you signed the security guarantees for Qatar.
Yeah.
Do you see any role for the Senate in that? Would they have to vote on that? Or do you think?
Well, I wouldn't mind if they did. If they want to, they'd let me know. Nobody said that, but you know, Qatar's been very, very helpful to us in this process, and I think you'll find that. I think maybe the most influential. They're very influential, very strong. With Hamas, they're very strong, and Turkey's likewise been helpful. I mean, honestly, UAE, Saudi Arabia, everybody's been helpful. I just spoke today with the King of Jordan, and he's been terrific too. I can't think of any country that's been negative about this. This is why it should happen. I mean, everybody wants it to happen. And usually when everybody, including, I think, Hamas, and when they want it to happen, it's going to happen.
James Comey is being arraigned on Wednesday, obviously after his indictment. Are you worried that your own statements calling for his prosecution could help him actually in his defense of this case?
No, I think he's a crooked guy. He's a dirty cop. Comey, I think he's a dirty cop. He's recognized by many people to be a dirty cop and dishonest guy. So all I have to do is, I mean, I have nothing to do with the case. I just say,
but you called on him, Bondi, to prosecute him and oppose him.
No, I don't call anybody. You know what? I'm allowed to do that if I wanted to do that. But Comey's a crooked guy. He has been for years. And he got caught. Look, he lied. This is just a simple case. He totally lied. And then he confirmed the lie on, I guess, numerous occasions, or at least one occasion. He confirmed the lie. He said, that's what I said, and I stand by it. And, you know, I mean, the guy, and he didn't say to the best of my knowledge. He didn't say, well, I don't remember. He made a very definitive statement and a very important statement concerning him. And he got caught in an outright lie. And that's why a group of people, it wasn't me that voted, they voted to indict him. But he's a crooked guy, in my opinion, and we'll find out. The court's going to determine that in a little while, I guess. Yeah.
You met with members of the Navy yesterday, Mr. President.
Yeah, I'm going to do some farm stuff this weekend.
You met with members of
please.
the Navy yesterday celebrating
It was
their
unbelievable.
250th. Can you talk about that? And as we get closer to America's 250th, you've initiated a prayer initiative as well.
Yeah.
Talk to me about both of those events and why they're so important, particularly the prayer initiative going forward to the...
Well, we have, and we're dealing, as you know, with all of the different, and not just evangelicals, Christians. We're dealing with lots of different faiths, religions. And I felt for a long time that, you know, if a country doesn't have religion, doesn't have faith, doesn't have God, it's going to be very hard to be a good country. You know, there's no reason to be good. I want to be good because you want to prove to God that you're good, so you go to that next step, right? So that's very important to me. I think it's really very important. And yesterday was amazing. We went out. We went to the naval base, the largest in the world, actually, and I saw things that were incredible. The level of I don't want to use the word weapons, but they are weapons. Is the technology on these planes, on the carriers, on all of the different things that we saw. They gave us missile displays. They did the whole. I don't think they've ever done anything like it, but it was really impressive. And the talent of the pilots, where they can land. You know, the aircraft carriers look massive, but when you put them in the middle of like the Atlantic, or in this case, pretty far off the coast of Virginia, and it's sitting in a big ocean, and it was pretty calm yesterday, but it's still a little bit testy, right? And you'd have these guys land right on a thing and come to a sudden screeching halt, and they're really something. They were taking off yesterday, and they look over, yes, sir, and then you see them, and you see them just get ripped back into the seat because the G-forces are so great. And actually, if you're not in great shape, because they were doing maneuvers that were incredible yesterday, and the admirals were explaining that if you're not in really good shape, you don't make it because you pass out. You know, these guys, and women, I met some women pilots that, I mean, it's incredible what they're able to do. So we saw something that was great, and you saw the spirit, because we had for a couple of thousand, I think they had probably 22,000, largely sailors, all dressed in the most beautiful white. There wasn't a spot on any of those uniforms. I looked at them, it was just a wave of white. And it was a great crowd and great reception. So, you know, getting back to a very important question that was asked, when you go back a year ago, people weren't joining the armed forces. They weren't joining the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, the Coast Guard, Air Force. If you look at, you know, any of them, they weren't joining the Space Force. And now we're setting records, recruitment. And that goes for the police and fire. Now they want to be policemen, they want to be firemen. And firemen, people don't mention them, but they're incredible. I know so many of them, they're brave as hell. I wouldn't want to do it, tell you. But they weren't able to recruit. The police weren't able to recruit. And the military wasn't able to recruit. We were really off. And I got elected, and it really started on November 5th. I got elected, and somehow the country developed a spirit. Financially, yes, but also with the military. And now we have record levels of people wanting to be in. Every force is filled. We have waiting lists to get into the Marines, to the Army, to the Navy, to the Air Force. We have Coast Guard. We have waiting lists to get in. It's amazing, actually, what's happened. We have a country it was a dead country. And I say it all the time. We had a dead country 1 year ago. Now we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. And it's nice to see you. I've watched you for years on television, so it's nice to meet you. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, press. Thank you, press. Let's go.
Hey, just missed the good brunt. Trump didn't have anything scheduled. We could have had some on the stream. We could have had some of this on the stream earlier, but hey, we've been on for roughly 4 hours, 3 hours, 48 minutes. Listen, I appreciate every single one of y'all who've tapped into the stream today. Listen, I gotta take a break. Listen. My wife about to get home, kid about to get home. I thought I could last till midnight, pause. I wasn't gonna make it, right? But I do appreciate Every single one of y'all who take the time out of your day tapping in with the stream today. We've had over 55,000 people on the stream take time out of their day to watch us have a conversation. And listen, I may have energy to stream again later tonight, but I'm also a gamer. Never know. So Capital Gaming is my YouTube gaming channel. I play a little FIFA, a little Ready or Not. I really stopped playing Call of Duty, but I'm ready for Battlefield. So we'll get that hot popping. But more than anything, if you haven't subscribed yet, please make sure you like and subscribe. We passed over 7,000 subscribers today. Listen, in 6 months, we've grown from less than 400 where we are today. I want to thank each and every one of y'all. But just remember,
all I ask is when you lay your head on that pillow at night, I gave you everything I had.
listen, I want to thank each and every one of y'all taking the time out of your day, watching the stream, tapping in with your boy more than anything. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'll be back on later. Y'all have a good day. I'm out.